Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Wednesday night hobby hangout. How's everyone doing? Hope you're well. Hope you've got your paint out. Got yourself a nice sort of suitable beverage of choice. And you're kind of just ready for a bit of a chill night. A bit of a ramble about, no doubt, bacon sandwiches and whatever else we talk about on Wednesdays. But yes, a nice chilled hobby night tonight. I am exhausted. I'll be perfectly honest. I'm looking a bit kind of, do you know, I've got that kind of like rashy face because I've been working in the garage getting more work done on the studio thing, and I've been like sawing wood and dust and stuff, and then when I've obviously been sweating, I've been rubbing, and it's kind of like rubbing it in my head. And I've just had a shower before the stream started, so yeah, I'm a bit flushed, I'm a bit tired, and I'm aching. I'm not used to hard work. Anyway, that's enough about me whinging my bits off, shall we say. Let's have a look and see who we got in the chat. So Connor was in nice and early there. Says, don't mind me, just going to sneak in here early. Well, you were early, Connor. Nice to see you in, mate. Marcus is in as well. Ortega, hello in the rerun, fella. Peter Koemans painting up some more bolt action Belgians. An MMG team, a sniper team, light and medium mortar. Nice, mate. He's asking what everyone else is painting as well. Lord Maiden, good evening to you, mate. Have you had your hair cut now, haven't you? I think I saw that in the Patreon chat. You'd had a bit of a head sharpened. Jamie Newton, hello to you, mate. How are you? Yoakum says, good evening. He's painting bases for Curse City minis and some Judge Dredd minis tonight while waiting for his Curse City box to arrive. I saw your message in the Patreon, mate, about, was it like, is it being delayed or it's sitting at customs or something random like that, mate? I hope you don't get stung for any charges. I also want to say thank you for upping your pledge as well, mate. I don't know if you were around when I noticed it right at the back end of the stream on Monday, so thank you very much, mate. It's very, very kind of you. Blizzards says Olos Obby Hooligans. That's like what people from Sundance say. They don't pronounce their H's either. Blizz is saying his allergies are hitting him pretty hard, but he's got Malavo on the table and Vehement waiting in the wings. I assume you've got a little bit of hay fever there, mate, have you? John Estel, good evening to you, fella. Mark Corley saying hi to the gang as well. Jill Monroe, good evening, Jill. I hope you're well. Busey says, hobby, oi, oi. And then Stu chimes in as well. Hello to you, fine fellas. Tasty Brain Drain, nice to see you, mate. Gareth Lewis is in as well. John Ashley Smith says, good afternoon. Hope you're having a good one. Yeah, not too bad, mate. Not too bad. Tasty Brain Drain says, to show how I've gotten used to watching Andy, it felt a little odd to miss Monday's stream. How very dare you? Like, you need to be there. Yeah, I appreciate anybody watching any of my videos. Coming in to listen to me kind of ramble on and chat with the community is always it's always a blessing, so thank you very much. VJ, good morning, sir. Hope you're all well. Good evening to you, Phil Campbell. Lord Maiden says, yes, I did. I beat the queues too. Good to see you, mate. I imagine the first couple of days must have been a bit chaos for getting a haircut. VJ says 5:30 in the morning, time for a cup of green tea and base this mini. Oh, very healthy, mate. Jez Hunt, good evening to you, mate. Hello, Simon Morton. John's got a couple of metal servitors to undercoat and then cleaning up the next in line. Chaos Cultists. Nice one. Tiberius, hello to you, or hiya Gadgy as he says there. And David Milano, greetings to you too, sir. That's cool, I've caught up with everything there. Very nice to do. Steve T, hello from Birmingham as well. Nice to see you in, mate. So, where are we now? Painting tonight. So this is where we got up to last week. I've not picked a brush up since last week. So what we're going to do is because I knew I was going to be like ramped up all day, I literally started working in the garage about 8 o'clock this morning. I finished about 7 o'clock tonight. That's obviously still not finished. There's loads to do. What have I been doing today? Building false walls, putting doorways in, putting more electric sockets in. So yeah, it's hard work. Yes, so this is where we got to last week. I think what we'll do is we'll start with this young lady here to because I'm obviously going to put a wash over the blues and stuff so that it kind of brings it down to this one and then highlight it back up again, and then we'll leave her to dry and we'll get back to that fella. So John says, is the dude on the right some kind of vampire? I think he's kind of almost like sort of animal-esque type thing. He's got kind of pointy ears there. It reminds me of we were talking about this last week about Panthro, I think it was, from Thundercats. That's why I decided to paint it the blue, just give him grey skin. Yeah, I just decided to kind of go with that. So we've still got a bit of work to do on this one. We've got some kind of, obviously, to highlight some of the face area up, the hair around there as well. He's got some fur on the shoulders. This on the back as well, we need to do a little bit of work on. And I also want to put put red in as a spot colour on some of these kind of like gems along the sides as well, just to give it a little bit of a focal point. But yes, we will crack on, and we'll start with this young lady. So let's we'll go silver with the arrow. Excuse me, I'm sure that's really loud in the microphone. So how is everybody? What you been up to? How's tricks, folks? Let me just move my phone. Let me move that around. What was I just going to do there? Oh yeah, I got sidetracked. I had a message on my phone there that I glanced as I moved it away, and then I completely forgot I was streaming. I forgot I was streaming. So, yeah, how is everybody? What you been up to? Anybody back at work? Back in the office now? Anybody been for their first pint yet? I've not done anything any different so far. It's been pretty much just business as usual. I mean, I've got that much stuff to do to try and get this room ready for when I can start getting people back to my house to play games. I've just been belting on with that one as well, and obviously with having COVID and then having that isolate for 10 days. My little boy was off nursery for like a week and a half, and then he was off for 2 weeks for Easter holidays as well. So like this week, yesterday is the first day he's been back to nursery in what feels like forever. So it's actually given me a chance to, because normally I have to kind of look after him as well while my wife's working as well. That was kind of part of the deal with doing this full time, was that actually like childcare was still part of sort of making the change, if you like, to doing this full time. So yeah. I think we'll stick that on with silver. We don't need to complicate it with too many colours. Lord Maiden says, Peter says paint snarf next. Unfortunately, mate, I'm still waiting for those files to print the bases. So let me just move that light so it's not as bright on. He's not even undercoated yet. He's not even primed. Because these are the bases I'm putting them on, but these were like a sample that I got sent basically to. Well, I didn't get sent. I backed the Kickstarter, and these were a sample of the bases, but they were the right size I needed. The problem is every other model in the range is on these bigger bases, so I'm waiting for the files to get sent out so I can print the bases off for the other ones. Right, somehow I must have managed to paint half of an arm there. I don't know why. That's what happens when you paint on a stream and you're tired. Jess says, false walls and doorways are making a haunted house. So I'm converting my garage into a gaming room / sort of recording studio for gameplay. And so I still need, there's like a washing machine and a tumble dryer and the boiler for the heating in the house and stuff like that in there as well. So I'm kind of putting up a false wall with a door in it, so that I've actually got like a separate room in the garage. So when I'm in there filming, and anything you see on camera and stuff looks the part and doesn't look half finished, if you like. So yeah, it's going well. It's costing money, obviously, like all these kind of things do. But that's what I've been saving up all the Patreon money and all of those donations and everything else. I've not spent any of that money on myself or anything. I've not took a wage out in the last year. I've basically just been saving everything up to be able to do this and kind of take the next step, if you like. So yeah, it's coming together. Let me scroll back down because that's starting to jump off my screen there as well. Marcus is saying he's just got over a stomach bug, which he got from his mum. I hope you're feeling better, mate. Frederick Schultz, hello there. So he's working on some Ents for Middle Earth. Nice one. Are they the new ones, mate? Because there was some new Ents came out not too long ago, wasn't there? Mark Colley says he feels great now. He's had his ears loaded to boppers. My dad always used to say that as a kid, going to get your ear lowered. Yeah, one thing I haven't had to worry about is his haircuts these lockdowns. So that's been a blessing in disguise, I suppose. I just kind of do it myself these days. So let me get some of that blue into there. Yeah. Right, what's she got on her shoulder there? She looks like she's got a little bit of armour. Let me get that on camera. A little bit of armour up here. Let me just put some on the brush. There's a bit of fur that we'll pick up later on. Cool. Ghost Winters has just got his first models to begin painting practice. Cultist of the Abyss from Blackstone Fortress. Nice one, mate. Painting's not that hard. It's hard to be kind of like award winning, but as I always say, mate, you're the only thing you need to concern yourself with is having fun and enjoying it. Jill Monroe saying lockdown hasn't lifted up here yet. Yeah, it's kind of. Are you up in Scotland, Jill? We're just starting to ease a little bit now. To be fair, it hasn't made a great deal of difference to me. We can now see people outdoors, which is nice. I've not been able to do that yet up until kind of recently. So yeah, that's quite nice. But I've not made any sort of done anything different. John says my old body hurts from yard work yesterday. No blisters. Do you know what it is? My body wise, I'm not too bad. It's the first kind of hard work I've done since I had COVID, and I kind of blamed that a little bit at first. But it's my fingers. Like my fingers are aching. Like when I wake up in the morning, I'm just I'm just an old fart falling a bit basically. So yeah. Right, we need to do something with those shoes. Do I want to go with a brown for them? Do I want to go with a blue? I don't want to go too much blue on it. Let's think. I need to use the skin tone there for the back of our elbow, which I've obviously missed. Yeah, Derek saying no pints for 12 days yet in Scotland. I just saw that on the news at lunchtime actually. I stopped for a bite to eat and watched a bit of the news, and Nicola Sturgeon was giving a chat, and I didn't realise that was different. VG said he's tired, didn't go to bed until 11. The wife and little guy woke up 3 times in 5 hours. Ouch. Gareth saying he managed to get a quick pint last night after search and rescue training. It was amazing. I'm looking forward to it. The weather's not been fantastic here. It was pretty good today actually, to be fair. But it's not been fantastic here for like sitting outdoors having a beer. Frederick saying the situation in Germany is still quite bad. I saw that. I just saw on the news tonight as well about Japan as well. They seem determined to still have the still have the Olympics, even though they're going through a bit of a 4th wave at the moment. So, but we just got to stay positive, keep our eyes on the prize. One day we'll be able to get back out there and play games again. For some of us, it's coming a little bit faster, but we'll get there. Just need to stay positive. Right. VG saying his wife got a second dose of the vax yesterday, so I'm expecting her to feel pretty shit today. I've got my dates as well for my vaccine now. My first one's on Monday. So yeah, we'll see how I am on Monday night. Live stream, I'm getting my vax at like 11:15, I think it is, on Monday morning, and I've got my date for my second one as well. So yeah, we'll see how I feel on Monday. Peter says, I don't mind not being able to socialise. The hay fever sees that every time this time of year. Peter says, these are the bases. It was basically a sample I got. Very bad pun there. Yeah, I think what they did was you could download like a free file as a test to decide whether you thought they were any good or not to back the Kickstarter, and that's what I did. Jez was saying, all good fella, down in my homeland of Wales doing some leather work for a fantasy TV series. Nice one, mate. Knackering 11-hour days, masks and all that, mind. I bet, mate, I bet. Yeah, you're probably used to a bit more hard work than I am. Gary Powell, evening, mate. Says, I thought I'd watch you painting to take my mind off the 3D printer maintenance processes I'm up to this evening. Nice to see you, mate. Nice to see you. If you remind me on, folks, I'll kind of show you some bit more close-ups of that building that I showed off on Monday night. While we're waiting for things to dry and stuff. Right, I'm just deciding what to put onto these. I've got like she's got some like straps around here. The base I'm obviously going to paint this kind of like deserty, and I think I'll just paint that like a similar color, like it's kind of sort of sandstone or something. I'll probably paint those feathers red. I think there's a bit of a spot color to match with the other one, but I'm just trying to decide what color to do these kind of straps across our legs. I think we should just stick with a dark brown. I think. Which dark brown to use? Renox hide's always a go-to, isn't it? It's always a go-to. Where are we up to here? Busey saying good news here that his parents both got text messages for their vaccines. They're getting them tomorrow. Nice one, mate. So you're starting to hear about it a bit more often now, dotted around the world. I mean, we've been quite fortunate in the UK that the rollout seems to have been a little bit faster, but at least the rest of the world seems to be kind of starting to roll them out as well. So that can only be a positive thing for the future. Jez says, Tasty Brain Drinks has been good, working, but just talking about a few days ago, took some time off to visit his mum. Oh, that's nice, mate. I hope she's well. Jez is saying, purpose-built gaming room, nice. Yeah, it's more like a studio, mate, really, to be fair. So I think I've mentioned this a few times now, but for those that don't know, so this room here is like a spare bedroom in my house, and I used to have a big 6x4 table in the middle of it, which I basically used to sit at to live stream. However, when it comes to recording gameplay, I basically had to turn the room upside down to be able to put cameras in the right places, and it wasn't something I could do very easily, and also it meant that if I was recording something and didn't get finished, or playing a game and wanted to go back and like sort of play another game the next day, but I had a live stream to do and things, it's just not convenient. I end up spending more time just kind of keep converting the room backwards and forwards when I tried it. So the plan was to try and to grow basically over time, and then hopefully sort of be able to afford like to kind of rent a small space or something like that. But what we decided to do was we rearranged a few things in the house, sorted out the garage, basically emptied it out, and I've managed to kind of convert sort of 2/3 or 3/4 of the garage now to be a sort of a gaming space, and kitted out. So I've got like things like I've got carpet getting fitted in the next week. Got some decorating to do once I finish with electrics and stuff. So yeah, it'll look the part when it's done. I mean, when you see it on camera, it'll obviously look the biz, because it'll be dressed like a kind of like a set really. So you won't know that it's kind of, well, you'll all know because I've just told you, but you won't necessarily know it's just kind of like a converted garage, if you like. But yeah, once I, like I said before, once I get to a point where it's I'm not embarrassed to show it off, because it's a bit of a building site at the moment. Once I get to a point where I'm ready to show it off, we'll do a little video, we'll do a little tour of it and stuff, and then maybe do a little video of it coming together, sort of like setting it up, getting cameras in and stuff, just for a bit of content really. But yeah, now that the little one's back to nursery, it means I can start first thing on the morning and actually start getting that work done now. So because it's obviously having to look after him all day while my wife's on phone calls and stuff with work, and was a little bit kind of difficult to get any work done. So yeah, I'm making progress now. Right. Felix says, finished new tree beard. Now working on his friends. The new tree beard is an incredible model. Lots of detail and texture. Nice. Scott says, hi, a bit late at the party. That's all right, mate. Nice to see you here. Vijay says, you met your boys yet? Now you can meet outdoors. I have seen them, mate. Yeah, the pubs hadn't opened yet when I could meet them, so I still haven't been able to take them for a pint for their 18th yet. But that's the plan. Not this weekend, I think, but the weekend after. I'm going to try and book a table at like a sort of, hopefully the weather's nice. We'll book a table, sit outside somewhere, and it means I can actually take them for their first 18-year-old beer. Not the beer's 18-year-old, they are. Evening, Mr. Wright. How you doing, Mark? Tony O'Forban, good evening to you as well. Of course, that just jumps off my screen there. Peter Stockdale, good evening. VG says search and rescue training. That's awesome. Yeah. Marcus is saying I was cutting boards on my table saw yesterday and forgot how much I hate veneer because of all the freaking splinters. John says this talk of Lost World Exodus makes me want to dig out my old Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff. I can't even read that. Always love the genre. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely got that kind of sort of is it sort of Conan Doyle, Edgar Rice Burroughs, all of that kind of feel to it, definitely. That's what I want. Agrax, Liquid Talent. Jill says I spend far too much time looking at 3D printers after Monday's stream. I apologise. Tonight might not help then if I show you my stuff. Then I'm really happy with what I purchased, if I'm perfectly honest. The quality of the stuff that's coming off it versus how much it cost. It was £150 basically. I don't mind telling you how much I paid for it. For me, it's kind of like an investment in this as a business. Basically, it'll save me money on terrain in the long run. So yeah, I'm kind of happy with the quality what's coming off it. I'm happy that it's not as difficult to use as I initially thought that it might be. I think the 3D printing with plastics is definitely, there's more moving parts, so there's more can go wrong, so there's more, you introduce more variability, I suppose. But I wanted to just start from a point where I'm getting decent prints, and then I'll start to to tweak things and try and get things. But I just want to make sure the printer's working. Basically, I don't want to start tweaking it from day one, whilst I'm still really learning about what the settings do and things. So almost out of the box, it's pretty much worked perfectly, really. So I say perfectly, I mean obviously you can always improve on it with a little bit of fine tuning and stuff, and because obviously the location you have it, the temperature of the room, the type of PLA you use, all these things will all affect it. But the fact that I've managed to sort of print out a big building, which is exactly the kind of thing that I'll be using it for, has kind of made me happy. Because a lot of people obviously like to sort of print like lots of smaller things and fine tune and play with it. And I thought, you know what it is, like if I printed off the test model to make sure everything was working. That took about an hour to do, and then I dove straight in and printed off sort of a big building, which was almost like 2.5-3 days worth of printing bits out. Because I thought if it doesn't print that, I might as well send it back. It's no good. It's not what I want, kind of thing. It won't do what I need it to. So I thought rather than printing off little bits and pieces of like little ships and cats and things of stuff that I don't really need, it's just wasting plastic, I might as well dive in, and so that's what I did. I just dove straight in at the deep end, really, to see what it would do. But yeah, I've been happy with the progress of it. So once I put this wash on, I'll show you the building in a bit more detail, and then you can I can show you the layer lines, because they're not invisible. I mean, it is a plastic printer, so they're never going to be invisible, if you like. But certainly from the a kind of 2 foot away, sort of on a tabletop, you'd never ever notice them, and certainly not on camera, which is what I'm going to be using them for. So yeah. Like I think I said on Monday, I used to mainly play most of my games over the years, like at gaming clubs and stuff, and at stores and tournaments. So I never really had a lot of terrain because I never needed it. I never played at home. I didn't have the space at home to play, so I never ever needed it. Where these days, oops, come back. These days it's a bit different. So very kindly, Christian sent me some stuff a little while ago. So I've been painting up some of that there, bits and pieces as well. Some sci-fi stuff. I've got some Dead Zone terrain that's finished as well. I actually got some MDF terrain sent out this week from Uncertain. Why does that keep disappearing? Come back. From Uncertain Scenery to take a look at for a review. So it only arrived yesterday. I've not even taken it out of the packet yet. So we'll see what that is as well, because I'm not entirely sure what they've sent. So yeah, things are starting starting to kind of pick up. The next thing I'll need to do is I'll need to start getting some mats and things. Because again, because I didn't have terrain, I didn't have mats either. So I'll need to, that's not something I can really kind of 3D print. So yeah, I'll be looking into mats and stuff, I think. So yeah, I've bought some bits and pieces, some mats in the past from what they called, from Deep Cut Studios, and I think it was what was it? Is it Urban Mats or something like that? I think I've used in the past as well. So yeah, I'll be looking to see what's out there. And the problem is with shipping stuff in from like Poland and stuff now, where a lot of those places are, they'll probably come with a load of postage charges that we never used to get before. So right, she's had a little bit of a coat there. We'll put some. In fact, I better let it dry first, but I'm going to put some Guillermin flesh wash over the skin just to give that a bit of texture as well. But we'll pop that one down for now. I'll get that building. So it's actually rather large. Let me zoom out a little bit. I'll tell you what I'll do. So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll move the camera back a bit because the cat. Spylord, thank you very much, mate. It says now have not just a job, but let me read that a second. I missed where it said. Let me because I had my hands full with the camera. He said, I'll just put my hand in the paint now. Bloody hell, getting all excited. He said now have not just a job, but also a freelance writing gig. So time to buy you a pint, mate. Thank you very much, mate. That is very, very kind of you, sir. Yes. So this is the building, and I think it's from a. I forget what the company's called, but I think it's called Firwood the Range, and it's in 3 pieces. So this roof piece comes off, and you can see there's some interior detail as well, and then there is the bottom piece as well. Now, what should have printed in these corners here should have been these little kind of, you see these little tiny little pyramids in the corner. For some reason, I must have done something wrong with the settings and they didn't print. So all I've done is I've just put some cocktail sticks in, just to kind of, because the locating holes are underneath, if you like. Now, what takes a long time to print, because like 3D printed with plastics. So if I was printing this in resin, it would just print like the whole shape, if you like, as a layer, and then it would print the whole shape as the next layer. With plastic, it literally has to sort of print every single piece. So even just to do probably to get to a point where you get above the floor level and it's just printing the walls, probably took about 9 hours, something like that. So it wasn't quick. It certainly wasn't quick to do this kind of thing. But so yeah, I mean, it prints in a few bits. This little archway is separate. The door is separate as well. The door looks good enough for this, but I'm tempted to maybe print that on the resin printer just to improve the quality of it a little bit. I also had a few issues with printing the windows, so you can kind of see there where it's missed a few bits. So I made some adjustments to other layers, but again, I'll just clip them out and I'll just put some cocktail sticks or something in there before I paint it. So I'm not really too worried about it. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of detail in it. This bottom layer I printed on one set of settings, so you can kind of see the layer lines there. They look worse on camera, to be fair, but you don't really hardly notice. Like from there, I can't really see them, to be fair. And then the next 2 layers, I changed the settings and I printed these ones on a little bit finer. So you might be able to, if I can pull this light across, you might be able to basically see that it looks a little bit smoother. You can kind of see it a bit on the sides here, but you don't really notice it so much on the tiles, which is the bulk of the this next layer. So yeah, so that fits on top of there. I mean, this chimney seemed to print okay as well. There's like 6 little stacks at the top that all seem to print fine. Didn't have any issues. And then, whoops, and then this top one. I did have a little bit of a problem when it was putting down this first layer for this, because there was a lot of movement about it. It was difficult to get it to kind of like start printing on the bed with the first one. So what I ended up doing was slowing it down just to get the first layer down, so it had something to kind of stick to, and then I speeded it up again. So I think that's why this little bit here is a little bit rough, but I can clean that bit up with a knife. I literally haven't done any cleanup. I've not sanded anything. I've not took a knife to it or anything. This is kind of how it come off the printer. So yeah, is it perfect? No, but is it good enough for what I need? Absolutely. Probably cost me about 7 or 8 quid in plastic, something like that. So yeah, like, and this basically is from a set which is this is actually called a small house. And if I put this next to, let's have a look. What have I got? Have I got anything handy? Have I got some? I've got this on the base here. So these are the Lost World Exodus ones. These are like 32mm. The house is a 28mm scale. It's not horrible. Like it doesn't look too terrible. That it kind of stands out or anything like that. So yeah, I'm kind of pleased how that's turned out. This little bit here could have been a little bit better, but you'll not notice it once it's painted. But yeah, obviously with this light and stuff, it's creating quite a lot of contrast. But yeah, so all these little holes and things are meant to be there. They're meant to be kind of like damage in the stuff. It's not like bad print or anything like that. All those little kind of bits and pieces are meant to be there. So yeah, it's not too bad. Like I say, I mean, you can kind of, that gives you an idea of the size of the thing, just to give an idea. So yeah, so that's my first foray into PLA printing. But yeah, I'm kind of happy with I'm happy enough with the quality, shall we say. Right, I need to get this camera zoomed back in now, get it into the right place. Let me tighten up the clamps and stuff. There we go. Right, I'll quickly catch up with some of the chat here. Let me have a drink of my milk. Fiji says they call it the vaccine stroll out in Australia. Appropriate considering they've abandoned targets. I guess the difference with where you are, mate, is that there's pretty much 0 cases, isn't there? Which probably puts him in a different place. Bobby Clark, good evening, mate. He says, I'm in a special place after hours of using funky smelling oil planes. I bet you are, mate. Red Rose Wargaming, good evening, Anna. How are you? Where are we up to here? Daisy Braindrin says, yeah, for the most part, she's doing well. Been having dizzy spells. Oh, I'm glad she's on the mend, mate. Jill says, garage sounds cool. Are you taking photos along the way? I haven't actually, no, but to be honest, I was kind of embarrassed with how untidy and how bad it was. It's at a point now where it's starting to come together. I'm waiting for some boards for the walls that I've kind of built false walls for. They're coming on Friday, which means I should be able to crack on Friday and get those bits done. So I'm getting to a point where I'm getting ready to decorate. But I think once I've got the main shell kind of ready, and then I'm going to start dressing the set after that, I think that's the point where I'll start to show some stuff off. Otherwise, it just looks like a DIY channel. John said, I have a fiendish talent for extracting maximum use out of the smallest spaces. Yeah, and that, to be fair, I've literally done everything on this channel from this room. I've managed to I built my gaming table, had storage for my computer and everything inside it. Like I'm in a little kind of probably 3 foot square corner of my room here, with paint on the wall here, camera in the corner, lights up there, microphone clamped to a bit of a desk like it. So it's the idea is that this room will still be like the live streaming room and the painting room and stuff like that, but I've got space for storage then, so I can store things, because a lot of stuff's kind of stored up in the loft in the house, and I have to keep getting the ladders out and climbing up there to get bits and pieces. And obviously things like terrain and armies and things will all be stored where they'll get played. So Santorius Art, good afternoon to you. Tasty Brain Drain says, so question, now I finally have minis to paint, how long before unpainted minis can be considered a pile of shame? It's not about how long, mate. It's about how big the pile gets. That's the problem. That is the problem. Right, so we need to do a little bit of... Where is it I'm looking for? I think we'll go, if I can find it, unless I've already got it out. No, I haven't. What am I looking for? I'm looking for, there it is, Ulthwan Grey. I like that, it always goes on well. Mark says, all good, thanks Andy. Just finished work on the kitchen, nice one. Andy Smith, good evening. Vijay says, I see many wargaming have done a bolt action bat rep. I wonder if this is a sign of more diversity. In the past, mate, they've been paid. Check the video out and see if it says paid promotion. Because quite often, they get paid by the companies to cover the games. The ones that are not 40k or AOS. If it's not, it might just be a case of they might be branching out a little bit. But I know in the past they basically get paid to promote certain games. I know they've done it in the past with Infinity. They've done it in the past with Kings of War, I believe, as well. So, right. Let's get this on camera and then I can start just painting his beard here. Just more like mutton chops really. It's not like a beard, it's more just like a hairy face, to be fair. So this is me just not talking and concentrating here. So I apologise. That's why I put music on the streams. That's why there's music on the painting streams, is basically so that those moments where I go silent, it's not just dead air kind of thing. At least there's a nice little tinkly tune in the background. I think I've said before, I don't get to hear what you're listening to though. So it might be awful. I kind of listened to a few bits of it. It's meant to be just kind of like background music for streamers, basically. So, right, we're going to just lightly paint in this fur on the shoulders. We'll probably come over it with a bit of a wash just so it's different to his face. But this will just lighten it up a bit. So, where else are we up to here? Tiberius saying, thing about FDM printers, more moving parts so they can go wrong, but you actually stand a chance of fixing it yourself. What I found was, maybe because it kind of comes semi-assembled, so you have to like build it up. I mean, it comes in some pretty big parts. It's not difficult to build, even if you're a complete novice. It's not difficult. Their instructions and stuff was good. But because I put it together myself, it did give me the feeling of sort of feeling like I kind of understood the working parts of it, or like how it worked, which was quite interesting. I think if it had come completely built, it might have felt a little bit more daunting, to be fair. So, but yeah, it's so far so good, as they say. Right, so that's his beardy stuff. Now what we'll do is we're going to come in with some red just to really give it a bit of a kick. So we'll start with Mephiston red. Jill Monroe says, yeah, that model of printer is sold out everywhere, but looking at some alternatives in a similar price range. Need terrain because club isn't reopened until we get to tier 1. Yeah, I must admit, I mean, the printer, I've literally jumped on it on Amazon. I just keep basically, my intention was just to keep checking every day, and I was dead lucky that the first day I checked it was in stock. It sold out like 5 minutes after I'd bought mine, but I think they keep coming back pretty regular, so it's worth just keeping an eye on the Amazon stocks as well. Tony O says, I want Kings of War Armada reports. Can't wait for XL and new factions. Yeah, the new XL stuff looks really nice. I love those ships. That Ripper Hulk for Orcs is fantastic. My intention is to get more Armada stuff done as well. Get like more battle reports. It's just getting opponents basically. My wife did me a huge favour being able to film that one that we did. But yeah, gaming's not tabletop gaming's not really her thing. She just did me a massive favour, really. Right, let me paint these in. I always love how the red just really stands out nice against this blue. It ends up being a bit of a crutch colour though, where basically it's always my fallback. So if you've seen my video of my dwarfs, if you've seen the video where I painted my Ossiarch Bone Reapers, you'll see a bit of a pattern with this colour scheme. But I just like how it stands out. Like as an example, let me just when I painted my dwarfs, we're just talking Armada there. It's no surprise I used a similar type of colour scheme on those. So where was this? John's saying the club thing is pretty rare in North America, sadly. Yeah, but I guess you guys have a lot more hobby shops and hobby stores. We don't really have. I mean, some areas in the UK obviously have them, but like locally to me, there's hardly any gaming areas like where you can go and play. Like the hobby stores in the UK are very, very small generally. I mean, there's a few bigger ones, places like Element Games and stuff like that, but they obviously serve a lot smaller portion of the public, if you like, of the gaming public. Like if you think about like tournaments and stuff like that in the UK, tend to be in like sort of church halls and community centres and that kind of stuff. Like they're not in gaming stores, because generally gaming stores are not big enough to have sort of 28-man tournaments or anything like that. So yeah, so whilst we do tend to have like a lot more clubs and stuff over here, it's more a necessity because we don't have the space at home generally, or most people don't have the space at home, because houses are just generally smaller in the UK, and yeah, game stores with that amount of space are few and far between. So it's less to do with choice really. Yeah, let's put a bit on the tips of those as well, I think. I like this model. There's just something about it. It's just, it kind of paints itself. There's just so much detail to it. Like it's almost like I haven't really got to be that particularly neat. It's just detailed enough that it picks up the colours itself. So I like how that red just kind of makes it pop a little bit. I feel like we need something more here. I might change that from silver to kind of bronzy or something, because I don't like the way it kind of fades in with the grey skin, to be fair. But we'll crack on. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. VJ says, with mats, make sure you get the double-sided to save on storage space. Yeah, it's probably not a bad option, mate. I think when I bought mats in the past, you couldn't get double-sided mats. So yeah, it's not a bad shout. VJ says he's still keen for a modder, but decided won't go there till I've painted and played Kings of War box I got for Christmas. Yeah, there's plenty of stuff. Johnson, did you ever play any of the old Avalon Hill bookcase games? I've never played any Avalon Hill games, mate. I don't remember any of those stuff. I didn't really play a lot of games when I was a kid, and I only really got into kind of like tabletop gaming really like in my 30s. So it's not like I read like fighting fantasy books when I was younger, and I got a copy of Hero Quest like a lot of people did, but I never really got into like sort of tabletop gaming until I was much older. So I'm not one of these that's kind of got years and years of gaming heritage, if you like. Right, a little bit of Wild Rider Red just to highlight that up. Peter's saying I actually bought the Grassy Fields mat from Battle Systems. Comes as 6 2x2 mats. Pretty good stuff. I need something I could switch from 6x4 to 4x4. Spider Lord says, did you do that in resin? No, that's in plastic, mate. That's in plastic, that house. Tasty Brain Drain says the house is amazing. Yeah, I'm happy with how it turned out, mate. This is our FDM, yeah. I need to scroll back a bit. Where are we at? God. Tony was saying Basilians, Orcs and Dwarfs. Yeah, nice, mate. Gary says, what infill percentage are you using? I think the bottom one, mate, I think I did 10% and I upped it to 15%, I think, in the top 2 layers. Jess is saying it's proper cool. I like the style of it, mate. The Kickstarter thing I backed, I think I've got some images on my phone. That was stuff that... See if I can find them. So these are the other the other buildings that came in the Kickstarter. So there's an alchemist's house. There is a medium-sized house, which is obviously a much bigger version of what I've printed off. There's a wizard's tower. Whoop, let me move that one back. So I've got that file to print out as well. There is a weapon shop, which looks really nice. And then I think the other one is there's a mansion as well, which looks huge. So yeah, there's some really nice buildings. I like the fact that they're kind of like quirky fantasy. It means they'll fit in a number of different kind of sort of settings. Kings of War, Vanguard. It'll fit in kind of in Malifaux. So yeah, it'll fit with a number of different settings. That. Andrew Fairbanks, gentleman's here. Says, gentlemen and Andy and the ladies, how are you this afternoon? What are you building and painting? Yeah, everybody let them know what you're painting. John saying, yeah, it looks like it'd be a blast to paint. I think essentially, mate, I'm going to be pretty much spray cans with a little bit of kind of detail and stuff like that, really. I'm just trying to keep them simple. What I don't want to be doing is spending sort of 6 months painting buildings and things. That's the whole point of getting them printed, really, because then I don't have to spend any time scratch building or building those kits. So yeah, the trick's going to be just getting basic jobs on them, basically. basically. Peter says, any bits that don't look good on the roofs easily fixed, just add some flock or something. Yeah, to be honest, mate, I think putting like little bits of twigs or stuff around the base of it, sort of scattering leaves or something across it, any bits of flock and things like that, just anything that sort of takes away from it, really, or hides any imperfections, is probably a good trick with that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, generally, like I say, yeah, you'll not even see it when it's on the tabletop. Vigi says, yeah, there's next to no cases. The problem is that all the state governments are paranoid about the UK variant. Yeah, so I guess that's the thing, mate, isn't it? I think the difference is because we're obviously going down the vaccine route, at the same time we've got quarantine and things, we're seeing the best of both worlds, really. The lockdown's obviously reducing cases, but then in the same time people are getting vaccinated. So right, I feel like I might want to just put a little bit into there as well, just to pick that out. Just gives a bit of a focal point. Nice. Yeah. John saying, I'm old school for the majority of my terrain. It's too much fun. I just don't have the time, mate. I don't really enjoy scratch building stuff. I'm not very good at it. And because, like, for me, it's about best bang for my buck, basically. Like, if I'm going to like spend my time is better spent filming and creating content than it is sitting here kind of scratch building terrain. So Fiji says, until we hit herd immunity levels, there'll be a job, work, killing restrictions. I think we hit herd immunity this week officially, so that could be a promising thing. Peter says, there's no pile of shame, only a pile of opportunities. Yes, that's not wrong, mate. Fiji says, yeah, I hadn't thought about it being a paid promotion. Yeah, they've definitely done some paid promotions in the past, mate. Paid promotions in the past. I've got no idea. Obviously, I've not seen it. I couldn't tell you whether this is one of them, but it's certainly been something that they've done in the past. Right, I'm going to highlight a little bit of grey, I think, on the chest. Tonio says, I'm super lazy when it comes to making terrain. The only terrain I built and enjoyed is Dead Zone. Yeah, I did build and paint some Dead Zone terrain, to be fair, but mine's not so much lazy. It's expensive to buy, and it's time consuming to build or to scratch build, to be fair. And obviously with what I'm doing at the next stage of this as a channel, when we can start to kind of meet people again, is to start getting some gameplay videos done. I need to build up that terrain, really, so I need to thin that down a bit more. Just try and glaze it on a little bit. lighten up the top of his head here a bit. A bit on the nose and a bit on the chin. And then a little bit down on this, on the neck here as well. Where are we up to? Andy Smith says, Andy, what models are you painting? These are from War Cradle Studios, mate. This is the Pride of the Necromortar box set for both Lost World Exodus and Wild West Exodus, mate. So yeah, they're awesome models. Absolutely, the detail. These are resin. So basically, this is, let me kind of show you. This is how they come. Obviously, you have to build the models up. Let me just move that light so it's not quite so harsh. So this is how the models come. This is kind of how crisp the resin details are. And then obviously I was just primed and been painting it. But it's starting to come together, mate. Let me just scroll down a bit. John says, just using a new wet palette and painting handle. Why did I not listen to people about how much better they make painting? Do you know what it is, mate? I am using a wet palette, and I normally always use a handle, but because the bases are not printed for these yet, I've just pinned these, as you can see, and I've just pushed it into a cork. This is basically like I was going to say a champagne cork, but it's not. It's like sparkling wine. And then these are little MDF bases that I got. Like, I think I bought like an MDF paint set, and these were basically pushed out for the paints to sit in. So I've got a box full of these little things. So I basically just super glue them on, and it keeps them from kind of falling over. VG says, I know you love your GW paints, but I have to say if there's any one GW paint to swap out, it's the white. I tend not to use white a lot, mate, to be honest. Ulthuan Grey I find is white enough, and Ulthuan Grey goes on lovely. I really like it. So you can see on the face there, it's not white, it's definitely like a really pale grey. I love it. I've got the white, but I very rarely use it, if I'm honest. And visiting, you can get a huge tube of Liquitex titanium white at the craft store. I have got this, which I use when I'm doing any kind of like what's it called, like Zenithal priming and stuff. I use this acrylic ink, this Dale Rowney stuff. And I also have, if I've got the tub here somewhere, whereabouts? There it is. I've got this Vallejo white, which I bought to do my my Stormtroopers through the airbrush and stuff. So yeah, I very rarely use white, if I'm honest, mate. I tend not to kind of like lighten paints. I pick a different shade really. So white's not something I use very often. Cintorius is saying, good looking miniature like a cyberpunk samurai. Yeah, it's got a feel about it, hasn't it? How far behind the chat, mate? I am well behind the chat now. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit and catch up with the chat. Busey says, do you know where the power usage is on the new printer? Wondering if it's similar to the Mars or if it's pretty juicy. I think it's got like a 300 watt power supply, mate. I'm not sure what it is. Ghost Winter says, is Forbidden Planet still in Newcastle City Centre? It is, mate, and I think it's the biggest Forbidden Planet outside of like their massive store in London. So it's a pretty sizable store. It got upgraded a few years ago. It's a really nice store, actually. Let me skip ahead a little bit here. Vijay says, any plans to bust out the Hero Quest minis for painting? It will be at some point, mate, but like I say, because of shorter space, they've gone up into the loft and they've been pushed to the back, and I kind of forgot about them. I need to get them out at some point. Tiberius is saying, Andy, the bronze on the nunchuck chain if you do something on the feet bronze. Yeah, I think that's what it will be, mate. I think I'll change up that colour there. I might put a little bit of red on the bottom there as well, just to break it up, because I think the silver across the kind of the claw things with the silver of the nunchucks, it just needs a little bit to break it up, I think. Where are we up to? Tabletop Ramble, good evening. How are you doing? Nice to see you in the chat. Just try and blend that in a little bit. It's a little bit severe on the top there. Right, what was I going to do now? Yes, I was going to go in with my next red colour, which is so you're not squeak orange. That's not what I want. Oh no, I've missed one out. That's why. That's all right. We'll stick with that. Right, let's get some. Not Warlock bronze. What will I go with? I think we'll go with the Caslax bronze, and we'll do it with that. All right, let me have a quick look here. Gary says I've gone as low as 5% and still had okay results, especially on thicker stuff. To be honest, mate, the infill didn't look like it was printing very well, which is why I upped it. And to be honest, when they're taking like 17 hours, I don't really want to start like doing tests on them so much. Christian, thank you very much, mate, for sharing the links there as well for the t-shirts. Andy said I got some roads from Fat Frank's on eBay. Fat Frank's, is that Frank's Factory Carpets place? Frederick saying slap some wash on my Ent, now have to wait an hour before I can continue painting. I always use a hairdryer, mate, when I'm not on a live stream. I use a hairdryer to speed up the washes. Just scrolling forward here, trying to catch up. Where are we at? I'll let people there. Where are we at? Dave Mackay says I find acrylic inks are handy, makes my miniatures look a lot better. I only ever use them from the airbrush, mate. I don't really use them to paint with. Maybe I should give it a try sometime. I think I've kind of caught up. Neil Pilot, good evening, good morning, good afternoon. That's a finely painted miniature. Well, it's coming on. It's within my standard anyway, that's for sure. Busey says, ouch, that would put my leggy bill up quite a bit if it was running for days on end. I think the Mars is 75 watt. It's got a 300 watt power supply, but I don't know if it necessarily is kind of sort of using that all the time. I don't know if it's being kind of, if that's being drawn on. So, right. So yeah, we'll take some of that bronze into there just to break that up, I think. And then we'll have a bit of a Agrax wash over that just to pick out some of the recesses. Make sure I've got it on camera, which always helps when you're on a live stream. There we go. Yeah, it's just kind of broken up a little bit, hasn't it? That looks a bit better. Do you know what it is? I'm going to let that dry. I'm going to put a wash on it, and then I'm going to call that one done. I don't really think I need to go to town on it. I'll put a bit of I think I'll put a black wash across the fur on the shoulders, just to darken that down a bit. Tony Booth Leiden, hello mate. He had his first proper hobby injury. New hobby knife rolled off the desk and stuck in my leg. Do you know what it is, mate? I've heard somebody going through like a proper artery in their leg with that, dropping a scalpel on their leg. I hope you're okay, mate. I hope it wasn't too serious. It can make a mess, those kind of accidents. It's just to kind of define the fur a little bit. There was a little bit of fur on his arm somewhere. There it was. Just do a tiny bit on there, just to pick that out. There we go. We'll let that dry. We'll put an Agrax wash over that bronze now, and then I think we'll call him done. Let me have a look now. catch up with some of these. Gary saying, like I said earlier, I have all three. Might put my thoughts down on video. Yeah, do it, mate. You should do, definitely. Especially if you've got a lot of experience in them now as well. Most people are still kind of getting their head around it and things. Like, I haven't done any kind of sort of 3D printing videos or anything yet, purely because I don't think I'm in a position. I don't think I know enough to I haven't done enough to give my thoughts as a beginner, as somebody new just getting started. I haven't used it enough to give a review of the printer, if you like, and I don't know enough to give kind of any expert opinions. So I'm kind of just biding my time, really. I think we'll call him done. You know, I'm not into fancy blends and all this kind of stuff. He'll look great once his base is done. So we'll just pick out some bits on here just to mix that up a bit. Right, good enough for me. So I mean, you're seeing them sort of big on the screen and stuff, but once he's in amongst the rest of the crew, that'll be a ding dang do winner on that one. John says, a pertinent question on the chat: how often do you dip your paintbrush into your beverage rather than your paint water? I never do it, mate, because I keep them on two different sides. So that doesn't look anything like my paint water. So there we go. Excuse me. Right. So that's kind of washed down a little bit now. We need to get the Guilliman flesh. And we'll do the skin tones. Ghost Winter says, unreal. Looks so good, mate. Fantastic work. Thank you very much, mate. It's just simple stuff. I've not done anything difficult. It's all just laying down a base coat, giving it a wash. Some paint come off my brush onto my tongue there. I must have put it down somewhere. This is kind of just... So what I'm doing here is I've used Kislev Flesh initially. I'm now going over it with a contrast paint, the Guilliman Flesh, just to give some kind of definition to the skin. And then I'll come back later and kind of pick out some bits of highlights and things. So it might look a bit funny at the minute, but it'll be fine when it's finished. I think the trick as well with this contrast paint is just to keep it moving as well while it's drying. You don't really want any kind of big lumps left behind. Scott, Tony says, didn't hurt going in. I invented some new swear words pulling it out though. I bet you did, mate. Yeah. Lord Min says, best injury I had happened when I was grating a potato. Oh, I don't even want to read the rest. Oh my god. Dave says, adds an extra taste to any brew. I make sure my cup is well away from my brush water. Yeah, I must admit, I keep the two very separate. I mean, this is, I've got one of those Citadel wash pots. My brother-in-law got one in a Secret Santa, I think, and he already had one, so he gave me his. And then, obviously, I'm drinking milk tonight from a San Miguel glass. So yeah, I'm not likely to mix the two up. I've got them very distant away from each other. Right, we'll let that dry. I'll give that 2 minutes. Oops, dropped my brush. Give that 2 minutes, and I'll have a little bit of a natter with the chat. I'll have a drink of my milk, and and catch up on the chat. Let's have a look. John saying I had to switch my paint water over to my left, being right-handed. The problem was cured after many mishaps. The worst bit, mate, is rather than washing your brush and your drink, is drinking your paint water. That's what you don't want to do. Yeah, John saying potato peelers have cursed some nasty wounds as well. Gary said he's Peter, this is San Miguel. Hola, senor fiesta. Gary Powell says my cursed city still hasn't turned up. UPS can't get a package 3 miles down the road. VG says milk. Surely it's not a brandy, Alexander. I love milk. I drink pints and pints of this stuff. I love milk. There's nothing wrong with a bit of milk. A bit of calcium in my bones. So, how's this looking? I think that's good enough. Peter says almost centimeters here. Garakista. Yes, mate. Right. So what we're going to do now is then we're going to go and highlight up the blues again. Right. So we start again with Sotek Green, which is the main kind of greeny blue colour that we start with. Just thin that down a touch, and then I'm just basically going to come in and highlight some of this up now. So what I did was, for those that didn't see it, is I base coated this thing with this Sotek Green, and then washed it over with the Agrax Earth shade to basically kind of dirty it up a little bit, get into the crevices and things, and then I come back with the colours and start to highlight it back up again. And this is how I did the other fella, so it's the two of them will look the same. But essentially what I'm doing, I'm almost kind of like, I want to say like kind of dusting over top. It's not like a dry brush, but I'm just very lightly coming at it, just picking up the high spots really. So some of the lower areas still retain that kind of that washed, sort of dirty shaded look. So yeah, that's all I'm doing really. Lawman says, look, the GW water pot helps with that issue. I can tell the difference between a Citadel grey plastic pot and a clear orange beaker. Yeah, like I say, I think that's why I don't make a mistake for that, because I've got that grey pot too. And like I say, I kind of keep the water pot out of reach, so it's it just becomes habit for me, I think, of always going back to the same place. Tony says, I must say I'm impressed with the Cursed City minis. The push fit and not one gap and one tiny drop of glue. I tell you what, mate, they went together really nice, except for one, and I think it's the wizard hero guy with the really long beard. There's like two really awful joins down his back. Other than that, the rest of them went together beautifully. And it's not like I kind of haven't pushed them together properly or anything. It's like there's two joins. It looks like they should be like a cape or something that goes over the top of it. So I'll probably have to put a little bit of plastic putty into that one, I think, to fill that one out. But the rest of them, yeah, I'd agree, mate. They went together really nicely. I'm just not a fan of building models, so when I was sitting there on Saturday building mine, luckily I had the Mantic Reveals Day thing on, so it was something quite nice just to kind of zone out and listen to while I was there plodding away making those minis up. Right, that's the Sotek Green. Next we come in with Temple Guard Blue. So has anybody, speaking of Mantic there, has anybody read through the firefight rules yet? Anybody had a look at those? I started reading them, and I must admit I'm getting that itch to to paint a firefight army. So that might be something on the cards in the future. I've got a few little bits and like things like this. Like I've got like a faction to finish painting here. I've got some Malifaux stuff to finish painting. So I've got a few like little bits of kind of like warband type stuff that I need to finish, but I haven't got any big projects. Like I've painted up my Kings of War dwarfs all done. I did all the Indomitors stuff, even though I don't think I'll probably use them, like, but and I've actually recorded that because I did a video on basically how to do it super fast, and all of the footage is still sitting on a memory card. I kind of forgot I'd done that, to be honest. So at some point there's a video in there waiting to get edited. So yeah, I'm just picking bits of highlights out of this one. A little bit on the elbow there. To tie that up as well. I don't know why that's orange there. Let's make it blue. Spiderlord says that Hellboy dragon. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm gonna back the next Hellboy Kickstarter, purely because I haven't played with everything I got from the first one really. So it will be just backing it for the sake of it. I think. I know it's going to go to retail, so if I ever do get to that point, I'll maybe pick it up at retail, but. Not because I don't think it looks it doesn't look interesting, or not because I don't like the game, more just because I haven't played with what I've already got. So that'll be the first stage for me, is finish what I've already spent money on. Low Mince, I had issues with the Ogre hero for some reason. One part was not happy or flush. I tell you which bit was weird. It was one of the what they called, those two kind of like Cossack looking soldiers. There was the ogre guard things. One of them, like the head had to go through like a fur bit around the front of his head. That was a bit of a funny fit, but yeah, it had a bit of it went together fine once I realised. John says I made my own sprue goo a few months back, but I haven't built plastic kits since. Only metal. Weird how it worked out. I think I've shown this on stream before. It was VJ tipped me off onto this stuff. And I use this for all my stuff now. I find it really, really useful. Plastic putty comes in a little kind of sort of toothpaste tube, but tiny little, whoops, where are we? There we go. Tiny little nozzle on the end, and it's perfect for just sort of squeezing into gaps and stuff. Yeah, it works really well. I love it. Ghost Winter says, what Malifaux crew are you looking forward to playing most and why? Probably so just get some paint here. Probably my Explorers crew. I've got Lord Cooper crew that I've been building up. I'm ready to do with that one. I've also got a Lady Justice crew that I've not played yet. I've got a few other crews as well, to be fair, but those are the two that I'll probably that are fully painted that I'm looking forward to getting to the table. So I think they'll probably be the first ones. So yeah, why? Because I really like them and because I've painted them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting some Malifaux in at some point. That's kind of why I'm sort of getting things like getting organised with things like mats and terrain and stuff now, and get them all ready. And then we can start to film some gameplay as well, which would be nice. So yeah, I'm not really wanting to kind of like fancy blended highlights and stuff. I tend to kind of just go a little bit cartoony for those that are thinking, what the hell's he doing? These models have got so much detail that you've almost just got to sort of just brush against them and it'll pick up a high spot and it'll give you a nice effect. So yeah. So again, we're going to come back in with the red as well and pick up some red parts. Tabletop Ramble says the new second edition of Firefight sounds like it could be really good. I must admit, one thing I really like about it is the way they've introduced this kind of measuring and moving from your leader model, the way that Star Wars Legion does. I think that's a really good addition. And I like the fact that it feels like a Mantic game now. Because I never thought Warpath or Firefight felt like Mantic games. So yeah, I'd love to see it gather a bit of momentum. Folks seem to really love Dead Zone, so it's coming from a good pedigree. Andy's obviously been working on the Dead Zone rules and things like that for some time, so it's nice to see him kind of getting the chance to give it a go, really. So yeah, good on him. So yeah, I'm just using this red as again just to pick out some spot colours. We might do something around on here, maybe pick out the centre point just to give it a little bit of something, but I like those kind of feathers around the legs there. Just need to get in here and fill those bits. Right, what am I going to... I need to pick something out, I think, on here. I think what I'll do is I'll pick that just to give it a bit of contrast there. I think, whoops, you didn't see that there, did you? Mark's saying, currently I'm trying to find Mantic's Mars Attacks, but all I found is overseas copies. My friend owns a game store, said he might be able to get... Oh, it's gone. I've got a copy of Mars Attacks. I mean, I like Mars Attacks. It's essentially like a simplified version of Dead Zone. Lord Maiden says the undead ones. Yeah, they were a bit funny to put together. Yeah, you know, I forget what they're called. Like is it Kosagi ogres? I think they're called. One of them, like the head was separate from the band that goes around them, and you almost had to try and angle it in, but the pins made it a bit awkward. Blizzard says the putty is amazing. Been using it myself for a couple of years now. Yeah, like I say, it was VJ put me onto it, and because I needed something for a bit of gap filling, so I ordered it from Amazon, and yeah, it's been spot on. I wouldn't use anything else now, to be fair. Right. I think what we'll do now is, so we're going to go back with the Kislev flesh and just a little bit of highlight. A little bit of highlight on the skin. Just kind of just around the tops of the thigh and things. Take away some of those tide marks and things, and go back to the calf on the hand here, and then we'll highlight some of her facial features as well. Has she got a hair? No, she hasn't got a hairband, has she? Has she? No, that's her hair. I wasn't sure if she had like a hairband there. Face is quite difficult to get on camera there. I have to keep remembering I'm streaming. Keep making sure it's on camera. Right, so she's starting to come together now. Right, highlight up that. Highlight the red up a little bit. Just thin that down. Where are we up to here? Jill says, trying to finish up all my warbands for games and all the random monsters for Frostgrave. Once clear, I'm thinking of doing a mass battle army, probably Kings of War. Kings of War I'm a big fan of Kings of War. The thing is, it's mass battle in terms of like you have like a lot of models on the board type thing, but it plays very much like a skirmish game because it's not like Warhammer Fantasy where you're taking off individual models and reforming and stuff. You basically you can do it as just one solid base and make them like little dioramas, like multi-basing, and because of that, it feels like a bit of a skirmish game. You're moving around big bases. That's all, and I love that. I think it looks fantastic on the table, but it plays so slick and fast. We just need to highlight our hair up a little bit. Ghost Winter says, yeah, I'm with you on that one. Malifaux benefits so much from a good map and terrain. Yeah, I agree, mate. I love Malifaux's lore and background, and it almost just doesn't seem fair to kind of like to put it on like with some bits of random cardboard boxes or stuff. So yeah, I wanna try and do it justice basically. Some games just deserve it, don't they? Like some games you think, the terrain's just there to block line of sight kind of thing. Like I needn't worry too much about it, and then other games it's like I'm playing out a story here. Like it's thematic. Wild West Exodus, I feel the same with Wild West Exodus. It's like I feel like I need to have a really good setting for it. It needs to be really thematic. And Drowned Earth is another game I've got stuff to paint up for it as well. And that's another game that I've been thinking about. I can use like my the terrain I've got from Dead Zone would fit thematically, like with kind of sort of buildings have been sunk underwater and they're starting to kind of to come back and build, like using bits of crates and things like that, but then put them on like a water mat I should say, and put some bits of like sort of what's it called, aquarium plants and stuff like that on to really kind of jungle it up. And then I think some of that stuff would probably work nice for Lost World Exodus as well. So I've got I've got the ideas in my head of what I want to do. I just need to actually to make it happen. So right, I need to tidy up some of those little bits. John saying, I got several different putties in the toolbox, Tamiya and green stuff, but the sprue goo comes highly recommended. I've heard about that, mate. You can basically just use it from melting down sprues, can't you? Basically with plastic glue, you just melt them down and do that, I believe. John says, tip with the Tamiya grey type putty, a little liquid cement over the putty helps keep it from flaking. Ah, interesting. Mark's saying, currently I'm trying to find a copy of Mantic Mars Attacks, but all I found overseas are copies my friend who owns a game store, so you might be able to track one down. Yeah, as I was saying before, me, I've got a copy of Mars Attacks. Me and my little boy play it actually now and again. Like he's only 4, but because they're all single piece plastic minis, and obviously it's not a game I'm too worried about him kind of getting his hands on. We quite often play them, and we literally we roll the dice and I'll say to him, like, if you need, like, you're gonna hit 4 of my models, so you roll 4 dice, and every one you get 5 or more, you kill one of my models. And we use it as a bit of like a maths, a bit of a learning thing. So he'll roll his dice and I'll say, right, like, how many have you got? 5 or more on, and they'll count them up and stuff. So we use it as like a little bit of like a learning thing. We did quite a bit of that through the first lockdown when he was at home all the time. So it was quite nice for him to kind of feel like he was playing, and we were sitting like sort of playing with the miniatures. He's starting to kind of to want to get on camera now as well, interestingly. I was setting up a live stream on might have been on Monday, and I was testing the microphones and stuff. So I was recording while I was speaking into the microphone, so I could play it back and listen to it and make sure it sounded okay. And like he kind of come wandering in and come and sat on my knee and was like looking at himself on the screen, wanting to talk to the camera. So no doubt at some point he'll be wanting to make an appearance. Adam Edgar, hello fella, how you doing? Future boy, he says, looking good. Mini is too, Andy. Thank you very much. Air Cool Polly just subscribed. Thank you very much, Air Cool Polly. Cool. I've actually caught up with the chat tonight. Ghost Winter says, yeah, definitely all about the story as well as gameplay, making your games more cinematic in a sense and involved. I started writing some Malifaux fan fiction just to get more from it too. I actually wrote some Malifaux fan fiction a long time ago. I used to have a blog before the days of YouTube being popular. I wrote a blog for a while when I was playing Malifaux, and I kind of showed off some of the terrain I was doing there, and I wrote like a Malifaux story and stuff, and showed off some of my painting and things. Blogs were popular ones before YouTube was a big thing. Right, I think we're gonna go with, for the base. Do I want to go? I think Zandri Dust or Zandri Desert's going to be a bit, or Zambezi Desert, I should say. Zambezi is a bit orange. Talon Sand. We might go with Talon Sand, and then, or do we just go Old Faithful with Zandri Dust? Yeah, let's go Zandri Dust, and we can always highlight it up. Ghost Winter says, is your fan fiction still available online? I think it is actually. If you search for, I think it's called a fistful of soul stones. I think the blog still exists. It's obviously very, very old, but yes, it was based upon me and another couple of lads who I used to play Malifaux with at the time. Basically, were like planning this this 3-way game, and I basically kind of wrote this kind of short story over a couple of blog posts, I think, which was kind of like playing out, which was like basically setting the scene for what the story was going to be about, for the encounter that we were going to play. This was back in first edition Malifaux, so it's going back a few years now. But yeah, I've got a real soft spot for Malifaux. It was the first sort of miniatures game that I really like got into. I got into miniature gaming, or I got into miniatures by painting Warhammer 40k stuff. And I had a demo game and didn't enjoy it. And because I didn't enjoy it, I started looking online at like what other stuff was out there. And I found Malifaux. Malifaux had literally been out a couple of months, I think. It's from Gen Con. And I basically bought in just because I loved the look of the models and I loved the sound of the background and things. So I dove straight in then and managed to convince another couple of guys from the gaming club I went to. I think I'd only been to the gaming club maybe twice, and I managed to kind of convince a couple of them to buy in as well, and the rest is history after that. Lord Maiden says, does the name Sentinel ring a bell? Does the name Sentinel ring a bell? Do you know what it is, mate? I've got a feeling that might be the name of the blog thing, because I think I might have started, or I think I was going to write another blog and I changed my username, I think. So Sentinel might well be it, actually. Yeah, it might ring a bell, actually. Let's see if I can find it, actually. Let me do a little search on my phone, and I'll see if I'll be able to show you, and then you know you've got the right thing. My God, it was 2011. This is going back a bit. So yeah, this was. I mean, this is obviously on my phone here. Let me zoom out a little bit. This was all my blog stuff. This was the. Yeah, that's it. That is Sentinel. That's right. Where is it? Like I did. So I did this whole blog thing on. I was making. What's it called? World Works games where you print it off. I was making like terrain and stuff, printing terrain off and things. It was actually pretty decent. I think, what was it called? Let's see if it's this was I don't think I showed this off. This was my my original Seamus model that I painted. That's yeah, I've still got that somewhere, tucked away. This was another one of my models. So this is my painting, like, what's this, 10 years ago. But I used to spend more time painting then. These days, not so much. But yeah, so somewhere on this blog, there should be some. That's it. A Miracle on Malifaux Streets. There's part 1 and part 2. That was what I started did. So yes, February 2011 was when I started that. Yeah, that's going back some time. Wowzers. I didn't realise it was that long ago. So yeah, so that, to be honest, around that time, probably 2010, is probably when I started getting into gaming, and I dropped out again later on, and I didn't get back into it till about 4 years ago. So I probably had about 2-3 years off. So in the last 10 years, it was only really the last 4, and probably the first 3. Yeah, so yeah, I'm relatively new, really, compared to a lot of folks who've been gaming, like, and remember all these games from the 70s and 80s and all this kind of stuff. Ghost Winters is saying, yeah, I feel it's far underrated. I've got the same soft spot with me. We'll have to get in contact with you when everything's sorted and arrange a game. Sounds good, mate. Sounds good. Always happy to meet folks. Yeah, I really enjoy the kind of like having a bit of a story to play to. It's not that I kind of don't enjoy competitive play, because I do enjoy the challenge of playing, but I don't necessarily play to win. But I do like the idea of, like, there's a reason why this fight's taking place, kind of thing. It's not just a case of like a random encounter type thing. I like the fact that we kind of build up some background story to it. Wow, looks like a demented Uncle Sam. Yeah, that's how it ended up, mate. It was just I painted it just something a bit different. It was more as a painting project, really. I bought a lot of Malifaux stuff back then just because I liked the models, and I enjoyed painting them. And when I bought that, was it called the Red Chapel Gang? I don't think I ever really intended to play the faction. I just really wanted to paint up that Seamus model. And I kind of sat down, and I think I'd started off, I was going to paint him like a ringmaster, like a circus ringmaster. And by the time I'd kind of started with these jackets, I really got that kind of like that Uncle Sam kind of feel about it. So I just embraced it and went with it. Marcus says, is anyone else reminded of a Todd McFarlane figure when they look at the new Balco model? Do you know what it is, mate? I do know exactly what you mean. It's got a bit of Spawn about it, like, kind of thing. It is a really nice model, mind. I do like it. I'll never buy it. I've got absolutely no use for it. But it is a nice model. Christian sharing the link for Goblin Gaming as well. Thank you very much. Goblin Gaming have now announced as well. They got 20% off all Games Workshop stuff. So if you are looking for that, you get the 20% off, and I make a small commission for sending you there if you shop through my link. It's what helps keep the lights on this channel, helps keeps paying the bills, helps fund the studio work. So thank you very much. Peter says, funny how Malifaux's been around for so long and still hasn't had that much of a foothold. I mean, it's there, but not widespread. It's pretty big, I think, elsewhere, mate. Like, I think over in the States, I think it's pretty big. And it's obviously big enough to keep going. I mean, weird or not. I mean, I think there's a lot of games. Excuse me, let me just switch over. I think there's a lot of games like that. Like, if you look at a company like Night Models, like, to me, Batman miniatures games should be huge, and it just isn't. And you keep thinking, like, my God, like, how do they manage to keep going? But Night Models have got a decent staff now, and obviously they've done the Harry Potter things and stuff like that, so they're obviously paying for licenses. I think some of these games, we don't see them online so much. You don't necessarily see people painting stuff. You don't necessarily see people playing it. Like, there's maybe no YouTube channels that are covering them. So we instantly think that these games are just not very popular. But I think what you find is there's passionate crowds for these games. I think like Wild West Exodus is another one. I think there's passionate people play these games, and kind of like War Cradle, like sort of are constantly releasing new stuff for that game. If nobody was buying it, they wouldn't bother. So I do think sometimes you can think a game is not very popular because locally it's not very popular, but I don't think that's always the case. Kelly Caudle says, story is what I've really fallen for in Rangers of Shadow Deep. That and co-op play with nephew. If you're getting to play as well with your nephew, that's a fantastic reason to play. I've never played Rangers of Shadow Deep, I'll be honest. So I don't know if I don't know what the story's sort of really like. Is it something you basically create yourself? Is there a whole world within Rangers of Shadow Deep? Because I know a lot of people use the rules to kind of play their own settings, if you like, but I'm not that familiar with it, if I'm honest. John said, I know of only one shop in my area that carries Malifaux, and it's too bad. I have been tempted by their miniatures, but when I see them, it's always after I bought something else. I think it's just like I say, I think it's just like local pockets of things. It's like some areas, like my local area is really heavily into GW stuff, and most other stuff doesn't see the light of day. I'm starting to see Marvel Crisis Protocol becoming popular. There's a small kind of like sort of Mantic sort of crowd started up as well at a local gaming store, so we're starting to see a bit of Kings of War played there and stuff. But generally, like the Northeast is pretty heavily 40k AOS. Not a lot of other stuff gets played. I mean, there's the odd small pocket of group. Like there's a group called Gotham to Samaria, which is a group of guys who play like lots of different games, but they're kind of like a one-off, really. I think there's a little bit of Infinity in the Northeast. I think, or they used to be many years ago. I think it's just local clubs, and I think GW's dominance makes everything else look not that popular, and it's just not the case always. Kelly says it has a story, and each mission is a story consisting of related scenarios. I'll have to check it out. But he says, yeah, I know they must sell, otherwise they stop making it. But it's like you say, not that much on YouTube when you see painted minis in a group. 85% is GW. Like I say, I think GW's dominance, it dominates what everybody thinks is played, and I think sometimes it's self-fulfilling that because everybody sees how popular 40k and AOS is, people think, oh well, that's what I should play, regardless of how good their games are. And it's a shame because there's some fantastic games out there that just don't see kind of like the popularity of others. But yeah, it's definitely like I think Leeds, for example, in Yorkshire had a massive Malifaux scene when I was playing. Like there was a load of tournaments and stuff in Leeds. I think it just depends upon certain gaming stores. Like I know there are gaming stores where sort of hardly any 40k is played really. So John says, I must say I've really enjoyed tonight. Good chat, painting a really nice mini. Pleased with how it's looking at the end of the day too. Nice one. And the cider help. I haven't had cider in ages. I could just have a cheeky cider at some point. Jill says, yeah, Edinburgh doesn't have much of a Malifaux scene, but Stirling does. Before COVID, I wouldn't have gone through just to play, but my priorities have changed now. It's funny that, isn't it? Yeah. Ghost Winter says, yeah, the Northeast has always been big on 40k stuff from as long as I can remember. It makes finding games like Malifaux much more rewarding and touching. Yeah, I mean, I literally started up a Mantic sort of Northeast Mantic Gamers Facebook page purely just to try and see if there was other people in the Northeast playing Mantic games. And it's kind of it's grown into like a little group where folks get together and they're playing Dreadball and they're playing Kings of War and stuff like that. And unfortunately, the night they decided to meet up was a night that I could never attend because my wife was always away with work at the time. So, like obviously, I wasn't going to be disappointed with that. Like I was just happy that the group was kind of getting together, really. So, but it was nice. I think sometimes you've sometimes got to take the bull by the horns, and if there isn't a community, you've got to do it yourself. You've got to create that community. And kind of basically get on board that way. Where are we up? Jilts Insider helps with most moods. It does as well. Tasty Brain says, yeah, Malifaux seems to be popular in the New Orleans area, but not popular in this part of Louisiana. Johnson, for a number of years, the only games you saw in local stores were 40k Fantasy, War Machine, and Flames of War, or board games. It's definitely kind of like different locations. Like I think there are some locations where Infinity is absolutely huge and it's all that gets played. Like obviously Corvus Belly, like still going strong. Like they've been going around for years now as well. I think it's just if you don't see it with your own eyes and it doesn't get a lot of YouTube coverage, like I think people just assume that it's a dead game and nobody plays it. It's just not the case. The problem is with things like YouTube, and I end up suffering from this, is that if there isn't much content online for a certain game, let's say Malifaux because we're talking about it, although content is getting better to be fair. If there's not a lot of content for that game and you make a video about that game, people are not searching for it because they just don't expect it to be there. So what happens is that video doesn't get a lot of views, and then YouTube says, like, the way its algorithm works, it goes, oh, you did that video and nobody liked it. So next time we make a video, we'll not bother sharing it out with as many people. We'll share it with a few and we'll see what happens. And unfortunately, that keeps the popularity of some of those games down. Where if I make a video about Games Workshop or Warhammer 40k or something, it instantly gets more views. So because it instantly gets more views, because more people are searching for it, it gets put out in front of more people, and those videos become more popular, and then YouTube says, well done, keep it up, give me more of that stuff. So it becomes a bit of a game really, YouTube. Unfortunately, or fortunately for me, I've kind of given up on trying to pander to that. Not that I ever have, but I've made it work for my benefit in the past. But I've kind of given up on trying to be a slave to that, really. What I want to do now is I just want to make content that's varied, that covers the stuff that maybe nobody else is doing, like create my own little kind of niche on the internet in that respect. And then hopefully that then generates Patreons who support me, which enables me to keep doing this full time. And then basically I'm just making videos for the community, for the Patreons and for the people that watch my stuff. So it's not about getting lots and lots of views all the time. It's about growing a community and trying to serve that community with the content that they don't get elsewhere. So that's my long-term plan, really. I mean, I'm fortunate that because I enjoy this and because I've stuck at it, like some videos will get 300 or 400 views, which is next to nothing in the grand scheme of things. And then I've done videos that get 45,000, 50,000 views. I've got an airbrush video that's done 280,000 views. So I know how YouTube works. I know how to kind of get a video that gets pushed out. But I'll never do videos just for clicks. I'll only ever do a video that like is about something I'm interested in. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't like you doing that. Where are we up to here? Tabletop Ramble says Arcworld by Warplock has been doing well for such a small company. They've been going strong for about 10 years and still brings out some great stuff. Yeah, I agree, mate. I know the lad that runs that company, and yeah, he makes some fantastic stuff. But yeah, I think sometimes it depends upon the size of your company. If you're not trying to have like 20 staff, you can afford to make a bit less, and those games can continue for years and years to come. John says, I went to a Kings of War tournament in York a couple of years ago. There was about 10 of us, but the Malifaux tournament in the same room must have been 30 plus. I've been to Malifaux tournaments in York, mate, and it's always really well supported there. Jess is saying, Rangers Shadow Deep was an awesome game. When I'm older on TV series back in the Northeast and COVID sorted, if you fancy a game, we can have a game. Yeah, I'd love to have a game, mate. I'd love to. Something I've missed is the opportunity to get demos of games that I'm on the fence about. Because at the end of the day, I still spend my own money on this. Like, if I see a game I like the look of, I still spend money. I still buy miniatures. I still buy rule books, but it gets expensive when you try to do it for content and things as well. So there are some games where I'm kind of on the fence, but like Marvel Crisis Protocol is a prime example. It's a game that I'm looking at, and more I'm interested in it, and I'm hearing more and more good things about it. But I don't want to go out and spend money on it. I'd rather try and get a demo somewhere and see if it's a game that I would enjoy. And unfortunately, that's not been able to happen. So yeah, I'm up for demos and I'm up for different games. Ghost Winter says, any stores in the northeast that stock Malifaux, do you know? I don't think there is, mate. No, I tend to buy my stuff from Goblin Gaming. I mean, I've got an affiliate link there as well, but so kind of, I'm obviously going to promote them, but they have they have discount off list price. They have good stocks, so I tend to buy my stuff from there, mate. Kelly says, I will say that new GW Curse City minis are pretty amazingly beautiful. GW is really doing some impressive plastics. The quality of their sculpts is first class. John says, there's a good little group that plays the Mantic games locally, just enjoying the games together. No one with an edge about them. Yeah, they're a great bunch, and to be honest, I think it was Rad that gave me the demo for Kings of War and completely changed my opinion on that game. I really, really like that now, and I'm glad those folks get together. Ty BB says, I've just clipped and built 20 Lord of the Rings Army of the Dead sat here and ate a bowl of cornflakes. I could read your gibberish, Jez. Don't worry about that, mate. Tonio says, Mantic games are really great in my opinion. They got me away from GW. Moreover, this community is great, and I really like the way Mantic interacts with its community. Yeah, I'm not anti-GW by any stretch of the imagination, and I've never felt the need to kind of like break away from them. But when it comes to Mantic's games, the games that they produce, I just find that for the type of game that I enjoy playing, they are simple to understand the rules. The rule books are always well laid out. They're not too difficult to get playing. So it's like the old adage of kind of easy to like learn, hard to master type thing. And I like the way a lot of their games cross over with mechanics and stuff as well. And yeah, and generally they're pretty good with the community. I think companies like Mantic have to be. If they don't engage with their community, basically they wither and die. And Mantic are good at that kind of stuff. There are companies like Night Models that I wish they took a leaf out of Mantic's book. Let me just flip this over for a second, because I love Batman. I'm a massive Batman fan, but I can't be hassled to get involved with Night Models and all the hassle that goes with them. Peter said, I'd love to get Dead Zone rolling in my group. Excuse me, I've got some trap wind here. Excuse me. I'd love to get Dead Zone rolling in my group. Must say we play lots of games, but mostly historical. Bolt Action, Blitzkrieg Commander, yeah. Tonio says Dead Zone is life. Busey says the gaming table build must have a lot of views by now. I think it's done about... Is it about 60,000, something like that, man? Not sure actually. Let me have a look. I'll show you kind of. If I search my videos by most popular. So this gives you an idea of the kind of things that gets viewed. So if I go to here, so you can see on my channel there. So my most popular video is my airbrush from Amazon. Has done 283,000 views. My Warcry stuff, so GW stuff, 73,000. How to build a gaming table, 69,000. Setup video on how to thin your paints and stuff, 39,000. So when you're covering stuff which is sort of, it appeals to a wide variety of people, those kind of things will always do better rather than like niche small games that maybe don't get that much coverage. Again, airbrush, 5 perfect miniature games for beginners. I've got 25,000 views on a Resident Evil 2 board game review, and then you start to get into like the GW stuff. So I've got like Kill Team Necromunda, how to paint Ossiarch Bone Reapers, Kill Team rules, Warhammer Fantasy versus Age of Sigmar, how to paint Death Guard. I've got making a board for The Walking Dead, which was my second ever video, and then Warcry, games for new players, Hellboy, how to play, Shadespire, Necromunda Terrain, Kill Team, Hellboy again, Core Space. But you can kind of see that it's the GW stuff that gets pushed. It gets pushed to the top of the list, unfortunately. And if I go all the way, if I go to my least popular videos, let's have a look. Oh, you can't go by least popular. I have to search all the way, and there's like 300 odd videos now. But if I scroll down to the ones that don't have a lot of views, it's things like, I mean, these ones are like 1,000 view videos basically. Things like painting MDF terrain, the other side, Armada. That was just like a live stream. Wild West Exodus, Vanguard. Like, so unfortunately this is why people just go for clicks and go, because if you wanna kind of get views, you've got to cover the popular stuff. I don't want to cover the popular stuff. I want to cover the stuff that I'm passionate about and the things that I'm really excited by. So yeah, that's why I'm different. That's why I'm trying to do something different. I'm not trying to do this to get loads and loads of views. I'm trying to build a community who wants a channel that doesn't just do all the popular stuff, that does everything, that covers all the games that never get talked about. John saying, I got my Dead Zone Enforcer starter in the bargain bin at our end local shop. Never heard of Mantic or Dead Zone. I just saw a deal of cool minis. I actually heard of Mantic and got into Mantic stuff because when I first, I think I'd stopped playing. What was I doing? I'd stopped playing Malifaux, I think, because I basically burned out on it, I think. And I started to play War Machine, and I was trying to get my kids into gaming. I think by this point they were maybe 8 or 9, something like that. And I found Mantic in Hobbycraft. Hobbycraft used to sell GW models, but they also sold the Mantic dwarfs, the Mantic elves, and the undead. And I bought some of them because they were cheap for me and the kids to kind of to paint together and stuff. And that was where I first heard about Mantic stuff. Scott says, local to me in Whitby, the local game store, Outpost 31, run predominantly GW and Infinity games. Interesting that Infinity's popular there, mate. Peter says, I got them on The Walking Dead though, so can't complain. Yes. Jez Hunt, would Andy make a clickbait video? The answer will shock you. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not immune from trying to make my title intriguing or to pull people in. But it's never clickbait in terms of like sort of saying one thing and then the video being about something else. But it's just how it works. You have to sometimes sort of like market yourself that way. Christian sharing the link for Amazon there as well. Thank you very much, Chris. Tabletop Ramble says, the fact you don't pander to the masses is the reason I come here. I prefer to see and hear about different games rather than GW all the time. I mean, as I kind of mentioned on Monday, I do think GW make fantastic miniatures, and I think the way they kind of set the background and the lore and their artwork, they're fantastic for that kind of stuff. I just think some of their games are not my bag. I don't think they really go with the type of stuff I like to play, and I think I'm starting to realise this more and more. And I always like looking at other games like these models here from War Cradle. Like, these resins are as good like as any resins I've seen. I don't think there's anybody doing resins any better than War Cradle. I think the Mantic resins are great, but I would say I think War Cradle have got the edge. I think they make probably the best resins on the market. I think Infinity with Corvus Belli, I think they make some of the best metals on the market. The stuff that they make for them is unbelievable. I really love Corvus Belli metals, but I think GW have got plastic sewn up. But there's plenty of other games out there that are fantastic rule sets, have some beautiful minis, have really sort of friendly companies who look after their customers. There's just a whole world out there, rather than just spending my time going after clicks and just focusing on GW. Excuse me. Spiderlord says, I loved Ronnie on the stream. Not worked with him for a long time, but the enthusiasm is still there. Yeah, enthusiasm definitely comes across. Peter saying, yes, our group has some board gamers mixed in with the war gamers, and Mantic rules always go down better with them than more complicated war games rules. Busey said, I'm a little anti-GW after listening to the ex-GW employee talking about what it's like to be a manager. Did you watch it, mate? Now you understand what I was telling you. I could just vision it. Total nightmare of a company to work for in that respect. I'm not saying they're a total nightmare of a company. I'm sure that they are a big business. I mean, they make millions of pounds every year. And they have shareholders. And when you have a company of that size making that kind of money, you have to be very different to the company that has 5 employees and buys their miniatures from China, and like it's night and day. It's just that GW are so far away from everybody else that they instantly look like the evil kind of corporate company. But if you go into any other kind of business, I'm sure they're exactly the same as any company of a similar size. I know, because I hated that corporate culture. It's one of the reasons I wanted to leave and come and do this full time. I had 15 years of working for that company and hating that corporate culture of like sort of bureaucracy and sitting in board meetings and that type of stuff. So I don't think it's GW. I think it's just that GW in an industry where everybody else is so much smaller makes it look like that, I think. Ariel Sanchez, I'll say that again. Ariel Sanchez, hello all. Says, a while back I made the Coke Pepsi analogy and said that GW was Coke but everybody else is too small to be Pepsi. In your opinion, what's the company that's the closest to being Pepsi? The closest, I would say, in theory, was when Fantasy Flight had the Star Wars license. Fantasy Flight are part of Asmodee Group, and the Asmodee Group are huge. And if they could have got the supply of Star Wars Legion models out, when like supply of product from Fantasy Flight and Asmodee has always been a problem. Like X-Wing was doing really well. X-Wing was the most popular miniatures game not that long ago, even more popular than 40k for a little while. And they kind of dropped the ball. They physically can't get the stock out fast enough. They did the same thing with Legion. Couldn't get the stock out fast enough. The rules are pretty good, but everybody got a bit sick of playing Luke versus Vader because there was nothing coming out fast enough. Fast forward like a couple of years now, when there's more stuff to play, Legion's still a really good game, but unfortunately they're still having supply issues. So I think if Fantasy Flight, and I know it's moved to Atomic Mass Games now, but if Fantasy Flight could have got their stock issues sorted, they could have been the real challenger to GW for a while. With a big license like Star Wars, and with the size of their company, they could have really sort of had a go at them. I think the problem you've got then is when you come outside of that, like you've maybe got Warlord, who are nowhere near the size, but like are decent when it comes to kind of like historical stuff, but it's a different market. I think Mantic's kind of in that pack of like kind of people chasing, but the gap is so big. Nobody's going to close that. Like I've said this loads of times on a stream. I remember Ronnie Renton from Mantic saying that GW a few years ago paid a bonus out to their staff. Everybody got like let's say it was a £1,000 bonus or something like that. They paid a bonus out to all of their staff members, and the money that they paid out as a bonus to the staff was bigger than Mantic's turnover for the year. And I think that was when it kind of put it into scale of just how far ahead GW are. So yeah, love them or hate them, they're just on a different level to everybody else. Most companies will be happy with 1% of GW sales, and I think that would see them quite comfortably sort of making money and keeping going kind of thing. Tasty Brain Dreams, I think I may have said this already, but that 5 perfect miniature games for beginners is how I found Andy's channel. Did you really, mate? I didn't realise that. It was a suggestion that YouTube made to me, and I was like, hey, I'm a beginner, let's check this out. That's exactly why I make those kind of videos, because if I can make something that's quite broad, like that appeals to a wider audience, like if I say I'm going to make a video about Malifaux, that's going to appeal to people who play Malifaux. If I say here's a video about 5 perfect games for beginners, no matter what game you play, you might say, oh, I wonder what he's going to talk about. So I every now and again I try to throw in those kind of broader topics to try and kind of get noticed, to get the channel out in front of new eyes and stuff like that. But my passion is about talking about the games that other people don't talk about as well. Spylord first Hellboy Kickstarter was how I've heard about mine. Is it really, me? I didn't know that. Peter says, I got to know Mantic with Dead Zone, yeah. John says, I found Mantic when I was looking to get back into the game and Googled Warhammer Fantasy, found out it was dead, but Kings of War seemed to be the game. Yeah, and to be honest, I think for Mantic, Kings of War really saw a real kick on at that point when Warhammer Fantasy disappeared, and I think that really helped them out. But like, the game is good enough to stand on its own 2 feet. It was just that while Fantasy was around, like, what you'd essentially say, well, why would I look at anything else? Because I like rank and flank games. Everybody plays Fantasy. Why would I play anything else? No matter how like good Kings of War was, people just didn't even try it. So it was the right place, right time, and Mantic by that point, I think, were on to version 2 of Kings of War, and it was in a really good place, I think, at that point. Phil Wilkinson, hello mate. He says, hope everyone's well. He's going to sleep soon, but we'll probably paint to this, bro. Thanks, mate. Tony says, I can play Dead Zone, Dreadball, and Marder with my 7 to 8-year-old sons, which would be impossible with most GW games. Yeah, you're not wrong, mate. I know a lot of young people do play them, but they're not necessarily kind of playing them to, like, right, you can play like the full rules of like Mantic stuff. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, GW minis are awesome. John S. still says, I reckon Forge World might be second to GW. I think the problem is, mate, they're all part of the same company, so I don't even class them as separate these days. Jill says, GW, I follow the law, in particular the audiobooks. Games-wise, they do nothing for me. Yeah, I feel like I'm kind of coming to that same place. John says, Infinity seems to be gaining popularity here. Most independent stores carry it. I do like some of the miniatures. I love Infinity lore and background, and I think the miniatures are fantastic. The game is a little bit more complex, and it's if you can get a demo of Infinity, it will click, and you'll see it's nowhere near as complicated as I thought. If you try and read the rule book and try and play, it's like hitting yourself over the head with a stick. Peter says, come to think of it, I found your channel through your Dead Zone live stream. Did you really, Peter? I didn't know that. Tonio says, GW's games are not my bag. Exactly my point. Yeah, I just think they're just, like, I'm not saying they're bad games. I'm just saying for the types of games that I like to play, I don't think they scratch the itch. They're a bit too kind of, they either move too fast, they're a bit complicated, they're a bit complex. Like, I want to love Necromunda because the setting, I like the setting for Necromunda is probably my favourite setting within GW stuff. But I just kind of get my head around the game. Blizzard says, my intro to Mantic was a search for an option to the Forge World AdMech drill vehicle. Found the Vehement Tunneler. Yeah, that Vehement Tunneler is a lovely model. Is it Smine or Smine? It says, just saw your 5 perfect games for beginners video where you talked about Burrs and Badgers. Looked into it and fell in love. Ordered it and some minis from Northumbria. Very eager to start playing. Thanks. You are welcome, mate. That's kind of what I mean. I just want to kind of showcase some of the games that maybe people, you don't fall over them. Like Burrs and Badgers stuff doesn't get sold in every game shop. Like unless somebody tells you about it, or unless you are looking for some kind of like animal miniatures, you probably never even hear about it, unfortunately. VJ says, what's the name of this video with the stuff about being a GW manager? It's called, I linked it in the Patreon group today, mate. So yeah, let me have a look and I'll I'm sure I linked it in the Patreon group today. See if I can find it in here. Whereabouts was it? There we go. It was this one, mate. So it's called What Do Games Workshop Think About You, the Fan? And it's by a guy called Northern Exile. And he used to be a GW manager. He used to work for GW, and he basically like shares one of their training courses, and about like what. It's not really about what they think of you. That's probably not. It's a bit of a clickbait title, if I'm honest. It's more about what do they tell their managers when they run in stores. How do they train them? And yes, it is the Northern Exile one, mate. Yeah. And Spider-Lord saying, yeah, I can confirm a lot of what he says. Yeah, that's basically what I said in the Patreon chat today, is that, like, I saw that video and it backs up what I've heard from other people as well, so it's not like somebody's just made it up. Phil Campbell says, just got my Necromantic Blood Bowl team from Punga Miniatures. Absolutely awesome resin casts. Super detailed and clean. Nice, mate. Nice to see some of these third-party companies doing all right with it as well. Spider-Lord says, GW were worth more than British Gas. That should put it into perspective. Yeah, I think people forget that. It's like when everybody's ranting about kind of them not meeting demand and stuff. I think people don't realise just how big they are and how popular they've become. I think people still think that they're kind of this small, or this, like, they think of them as a big company, but I don't think they think of them as big in the size of, like, they're bigger than Marks and Spencers. They're bigger than British Gas. Like, they are a huge company now. And Peter says, never forget the time GW's been in the business as well. Year upon year of progress. Yeah, I mean, it is year upon year of progress, but I'm surprised. I'm surprised there hasn't been another company, especially with some of the big licenses. I'm surprised there hasn't been somebody else that's been managed to kind of like to at least shorten that gap. I'll be honest. I think Privateer Press were in a good place when 40k and GW weren't in a good place. And I think they picked up a lot of a lot of fantasy players. So when fantasy was around 7th edition, I think it wasn't in a particularly good place. And I know a lot of people jumped ship from Warhammer Fantasy and went to play War Machines and Hordes. And I think Privateer Press were in a really good place at that point. Unfortunately, I think they just didn't kick on from there. ER910, good evening, says, I'm moving towards miniature agnostic games. I love GW minis, but I hate their rules. Warcry is the only game system I like. I think I agree. I think Warcry is the only GW game system I like as well. And I do love Warcry, if I'm honest. Scott says, I found you via your Warcry scene rebuild. I think a lot of people did, mate, to be fair. Jez Hunt says, we're in such a lucky time. There's so many great games and great minis and wonderful lore. The only problem is not enough time or money. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, mate. Jill says, I love Infinity, but I feel like you need to make it your main game. I think you do kind of need to make it your main game. I think Code 1 is a good compromise. If you're only going to play it now and again, Code 1, which is like a simplified version, or an options restricted version, I should say, really, is probably a good bet. And if you play with somebody who also equally wants to play casually, it's not a bad game, but it's definitely up there with things like 40k, where you need to make it your main game, kind of thing. Spider-Lord says, problem with GW for me is how they handle the rules, the amount of books you need to stay up to date, constant revisions, day one DLC, codexes. I don't disagree with you, mate, but that's their whole business model is built on that, and that'll never change. Like, they've done that for years. The only thing they've done different is they've speeded up, like, the release schedule now. Like, it's phenomenal how much stuff they release now. They are so far ahead of everybody else when it comes to releases. And I think they're pushing even further. I mean, if you've seen recently that they're looking to employ more staff for Warcry, more staff for Kill Team. They're definitely looking to push those kind of things on. Jill says, my army had rules across 3 books in N3. I didn't realise Infinity was like that, to be honest. That's one of the beauties of Code 1, is all of the rules are in one book, because there's a limited amount of armies and a limited amount of options. I'm sure when the new Code 1 starter set comes out soon, that might change a little bit. But yeah, it certainly was for the first year. Hero at the Table says, hello all, I play lots of games from smaller publishers, but have recently fallen back into the GW hole. I'm already starting to regret it. Can I ask what dragged you back in? Was it the miniatures, or have you been playing their games and kind of enjoy their games? Because I think a lot of people get dragged back in because they make beautiful minis, and then I think what they do is it's like, well, I've bought these minis, I should probably play their games, and before you know it, you're kind of hooked in because you think, well, I've spent a fortune on this stuff. I don't want to start with a new game. So I think that's what tends to be what happens. They make beautiful minis, like, without a shadow of a doubt. Where are we up to here? Marcus is saying, I've only watched a game of Necromunda and it felt like Judge Dredd the board game. It's just, I think it's too crunchy for me. There's too many things to remember. I think I'd probably rather play Dead Zone rules and set it in like a Necromunda world, if I'm honest. John says, I've game mastered a couple of Rogue Trader style 40k games. My brother-in-law and one of his buddy, they find it complicated, but they still ask when the next game is. Blizzard says, was through game found for pledges. Phil Campbell, I don't know what I missed there. This must be the Kickstarter stuff. Dave says, we've got to call it a night. Another long day tomorrow. Thanks for coming in, buddy. Really appreciate it. Jack Spinoza says, man, I proper love GW games. Painting up Space Crusade at the moment. Got back into board games in 2016 with Silver Tower. Brilliant. Can't afford Curse City. I'll give you a tip, mate. Don't buy Curse City. I loved Silver Tower. Not a fan of Curse City. I played it at the weekend and I'm not a fan. I'll be honest, I'm finding I'm a fan of less and less of their games. I really enjoy Silver Tower. I really enjoyed Go Chosen. I really like Warcry. I think the thing they've all got in common is they are a bit more straightforward and a bit more simplified. And it's probably the reason why I don't really enjoy or can't get into their other systems. Tiberius says, GW's value in the business has been demonstrated twice in the last 10 years to be pretty much recession proof. It's unbelievable how much their share price has skyrocketed over the last 10 years. I think it was a couple of years ago, they were the fastest growing business on the UK stock market. That's not like within miniatures, that is within all businesses that are on the stock market selling shares. They were the fastest growing business. That's just like nuts. Marcus says, to me, the reason why it makes no sense that GW stores are the way they are is the fact they love having a massive community and a giant fan base, but they don't act like it. The problem is, mate, is they want a big fan base. They want you to come to Warhammer World. They want you to go to your gaming store, to your gaming club. Sorry, they want you to play their games. They want you to get together with your friends. They don't really want you to do it in their store like their stores are to sell stuff. Their stores are there is like encourage new people into the hobby. It's like come into my store, buy your stuff here, get excited about it, and then go home and paint it. I think what we forget is, and it might have changed a little bit now, but for a long period of time, the vast majority of GW customers were not gamers. They were just people who bought and painted models. And I don't think we'll ever really see the numbers of that, but I think it's changing a bit now. Maybe not in the last 12 months, but for a long period of time, they said themselves they were a model company, and there were way more people than you would think just buy the models to paint. Peter says the problem is when you walk into a GW store, all you can buy is GW. If you walk into a hobby store to buy privately pressed models, 101 different games tempt you. Bit of a divide and conquer. It's one of the reasons GW release stuff so fast is because... thank you, Tony. I really appreciate the donation, mate. Cheers. He's going to call it a night. Catch you next time, hopefully, mate. It's one of the reasons GW release stuff so fast is they want to fill the shelves in every other gaming store as well. All the ones that sell everybody else's stuff, they want to completely fill the shelves everywhere. So it's one of the reasons they do that. I think certainly in the UK, I don't know what it's like elsewhere, but there's just not that many hobby stores about. And I think people fall over a GW store in certainly in England or certainly in the UK. I think they fall over a GW store on the high street. There's not always a hobby store in every town. Like for example in Newcastle, there isn't another hobby store. There's a Forbidden Planet, which is predominantly like kind of like geeky stuff and comics and things, but they don't really sell miniature games. There is Travelling Man, which sells a really small amount. They sell some GW stuff. They sell a little bit of like X-Wing stuff, but generally they don't really sell miniature games. And then there is a Geek Retreat, which again is pretty much a card gaming shop. To be fair, the one in Newcastle. But there is a GW. And then if you go to Gateshead Metro Centre, which is like a big shopping centre, a bit like the Arndale Centre or a bit like the Lakeside Centre type thing, there's a GW there. That there is no other hobby shops, no other gaming stores or anything like that. So most people find GW if they're looking to get into a hobby or they're looking to buy like sort of toy soldier type things, they find a GW. I think a lot of gaming stores are just not on the high street. Certainly not in my local area and stuff. Like if you go into Manchester city centre, you're not falling over sort of like hobby stores. Frederick says the only thing he plays at the moment is Middle Earth. It's a GW game, but ironically the fact it's a smaller game might be a good thing, as the Middle Earth team is quite close to community. Yeah, I do feel for a long period of time they were almost out on their own, doing their own thing. Vijay saying basin done and drying, time to head for a run. Black women when I get back. And John's saying there, whoops, what was that one? John says I provide all the models in terrain, they just move the models mid decisions. I have to remind them to play in character. I think any game, no matter how complicated it is, if you've got somebody to almost like DM the game or to run the game, you get the fun aspect. You don't need to know the rules because somebody else is remembering them all for you. Sunday Sykes says just woke up. How's the show been going? Not bad, mate. Not bad. I'm just going to get back and finish off some painting in a second. And Jill says staring at a diorama in GW shop window is what first got me interested in minis. It was years later before I could afford to get into the hobby, but I don't know where I would have ended up here without GW. I'm exactly the same. I was aware of GW stuff as a kid because one of my friends, his brother painted like Blood Bowl minis and stuff like that. That was when I first heard of GW. And then when I was in my 30s, my twin boys were maybe 1 year old, 2 year old. I was spending more time at home. I was looking for a hobby, and I passed a big GW store in the Metro Centre in Gateshead. Looked in the window, remembered the minis from being a kid, and bought some Space Marines and bought some paints, and that was how I started. Jez is saying, Andy, there's Graham's Workshop out Jarrow Way. There's all kinds of games in there, including second-hand minis. I'm aware of the place, mate, but my point being, it's on an industrial estate. You don't stumble across that. The people that go to Graham's Workshop are people that are already hobbyists looking for stuff that is either cheaper or you can't get in Games Workshop. It's not like they're in the middle of Northumberland Street in Newcastle or something like that. So the point being is that yes, there's hobby shops which sell loads of other games, but the people that go to those hobby shops are people who are hobbyists. People who go to Games Workshop might be hobbyists, but they're also looking to get into it for the first time, or their kids with their parents going like, Mom, Dad, look at this, look at that, how cool is that? Can I have one of those kind of things? And it's a completely different audience. Yeah, Phil saying GW's been the gateway drug for most folks. Yeah, Hero the Table said I started back with 40k because a friend got me into it. I used to play 40k a lot, but stopped because the rules were not my cup of tea. I was told the rules are better now, but I'm not convinced. The thing that worries me more about the rules now is they are going more and more towards tournament style gaming. For me, I think that's certainly my impression of it. I could be wrong, but that's my impression. John says what pulled me back to 40k on 94 was the free catalogues with photos of every miniature. That did it. They stopped being free catalogues and they started calling them White Dwarf, didn't they? Peter says, yeah, I used to paint military models and railroad stuff until I bumped into a GW store, really. Know very well what you mean. Yeah, that's kind of my point, really. Is that it's kind of you get dragged in because that's what's on the high street. Right, let me get a wash on this base. And I think we'll have a bit more chat and stuff, but I'll call the painting a one for the night. I want to get this wash in and into the cracks on here and stuff, and let that dry. And then basically what I'll do is I'll dry brush it up, like gradually, like lighter kind of dusty colours, to lighten that up. But I wanna pick out those cracks with the wash. Sunday Slices, I started with 40k because my workmate kept telling me how awesome it was and wanted me to join in, and his girlfriend's brother owned a local hobby store. I think he got commission. He was a good salesman, mate, was he? I still stand by the fact that I think there are a huge chunk of people, and this is not just 40k stuff, I think this is across like kind of tabletop hobby in general, who play way less than they actually would care to admit, and they actually just paint models, chat about the hobby, kind of like hang out around it. They find a common interest, they talk about the lore, they read the books. And I think gaming is like kind of almost like, you know, I might play now and again kind of thing. There are obviously people who play lots and lots of games, and that's the main part of the hobby for them. But I think it's there's a huge chunk of people in the hobby for who gaming is almost an afterthought. Spiderlord says tournaments are massive in the US, so definitely prioritising that market rules wise. People will spend thousands chasing them at that. I don't even think they're seeing it as a like to sell more models. I think they're seeing it to keep the fan base that they've got, because if you play infrequently, it doesn't really matter how competitive the rules are. But if you are a competitive player who plays in tournaments and likes to play in tournaments, you will look for a more competitive rule set. And I think that they're maybe worried that there's other games coming up which have tighter rules when it comes to competitiveness. Jez says you couldn't let Graham on Northumberland Street, he'd scare people. Tabletop Ramble says I'm really looking forward to Stargrave in a couple of weeks. Be a lot easier to sneak a book past the missus rather than another big box of gaming goodies. You could just try telling them it. John says also didn't hurt that there was a game store next to the pub I worked at the time. Yeah. VG says bought some Space Marines. That was your first mistake, mate. Should have bought Orcs. Orcs have never really done it for me, mate. I'll be honest. It's like I've always said, sci-fi's been my kind of thing. I think the thing with Space Marines was, I think it was more a case of they're like a blank canvas. They're quite vanilla. You can paint them any colour you want. And there's no kind of difficult details on them, and I think that was what kind of got me started back then. Really, that was probably what it was. Tony says I openly admit I don't game, but love the hobby inside. I think you're different in that respect, Tony. That you openly embrace like you're a painter, and it's how I got into this. I only started playing because I had so much stuff painted that I thought actually I should probably try and do something with this. But just painting was all I got started with. Jess is saying really looking forward to Stargrave as well. Loves Joe McCulloch games. Peter says, I mean, I lost the love for the rules, but they still have a lot of value for me. I still buy the models for other games. Their models are of the look that shaped the world. Yeah, I completely agree, mate. And I think a lot of people buy their models as well. But I think there are big chunks of people who just don't play games at all with the models. They just enjoy kind of collecting and painting and hoarding the stuff, really. Spiderlord says, my first purchase was a box of 6 Gene Stealers from a newsagent near where my mate lived. I can still remember how I felt when I opened them. Phil said, if Curse City rules are meh, I'll just adapt it to Warhammer Quest 95 rules. Do you know what, mate? I wouldn't even recommend buying it to adapt the rules. Just play Warhammer 95 if that's the case. Neil Pilot is not a huge fan of the Curse City rules, but they are great looking miniatures. However, I intended to paint them to play the game, and unfortunately I didn't find the game very fun, so they've gone right to the back of my painting queue. I'll be honest, I'll probably end up painting them when I've got nothing else to paint. So yeah, interesting one. Right, folks, I think what I'll do is we'll call the painting for a night. I'll just put my lid back on my wet palette. I'm going to clean my brushes and stuff while we have a bit of a natter. But yeah, I'm quite happy with how these are turning out. They're not going to win any awards. Obviously, this is going to have a base the same as that as well. Just so I remember when I come back, I did use Zandri Dust for that base and then put a wash of Agrax on. This is like my my painting diary basically. I come back and watch my videos to see how I painted something. So yeah, I'm happy with how these are starting to turn out. These are a nice little faction. Hopefully I'll get the files to do the bases for my other stuff. These are the models that are left for this set. I think I showed some of them off before. We've got this guy as well. If I move that, so how's the best way? I'm trying to think. Yeah, if I move that light up a little bit, it's probably better. If I zoom in, it's probably better than me holding it close. This is what I mean about crisp details on these. There's nothing wrong with the quality of those. I love them. Yeah, so that's one of the models. This is the other one of the other ones as well. So yeah, I'll get those primed and we'll start to paint those ones up to match the other ones, and then the other guy that I showed off before as well. I mean, look at the fangs and that as well. Can we zoom in more on the mouth? Let's see how far we can get in before it loses focus. Come on, that's it. Wow. Oh, that's the point we lose focus. There we go. It gives you an idea of the quality on those. Really crisp. Those little bits of lines on there are actually like super glue lines, I think, like they on here. You can't see them with the naked eye. But yeah, they're nice. Right, let's pop that on while I wash my brushes. Lord Maiden says, I updated my gnomes, they're all painted and they're just waiting for a wash and grass and flowers. I need to buy some of those flower things, mate. I've never ever bought any, and I always love how nice they look. So in the takes I certainly paint more than I play. I'm also not the best player, so I get my wins with the painting. I used to play quite competitively, but I never won anything. Like it was purely for the social aspect of having a weekend away with the lads and having a few beers and getting games in and stuff like that. I completely treated like playing in tournaments as a weekend away with the boys. So yeah, I enjoy playing. I must admit, I do enjoy playing, but I don't play it like sort of nearly as much as I would have liked to do. And a lot of that was to do with my old job and stuff, and travelling and not being able to go out because I was looking after the little one when my wife was away. And I was hoping being able to walk away from my old job and do this full time, that was going to change, but the world had other ideas at the time. Where's this one? Fiji says, back at the queue. Is that before or after that hero quest? Yeah, it's after that, mate. Honestly, like I was really hyped to paint them, and the idea was I was going to kind of paint them like a kind of concept paint job, really. Because I thought if I try and paint them like I'm painting these, it'll take me forever, and I'll never ever get a fully painted box set. So I knew exactly how I wanted to paint them to get them done quite quickly. The problem is now even if I go ahead and paint them, they probably won't get played. So I might as well paint stuff that I want to play, is basically how I'm thinking at the minute. So yeah, they're getting pushed to the back of the queue until I need a palette cleanser or I fancy painting something different. Jess is saying there, they look bang on, fella. Thanks, mate. Yeah. John says, even back before the virus hit, I was playing twice most weeks. Were you really, mate? I didn't realise you were playing that often. Peter says, I'll paint them when I've got nothing else to paint. Hoarder terms, that's a death sentence. I think so, mate. The only way I would probably paint them is if I was going to sell the set, I think. Tabletop Ramble says, the minis look good. Don't know how you can chat and still get such good results. Do you know what, mate? My painting is not great. It's all right kind of thing. It's just washes and kind of a little bit of like color choice, really. Color choice goes a long way, really. That's kind of it, really. So Yeah, says it looks like Thundercats, yes. Jill says, wait, there's a time when there's nothing else to paint. It's just before the end of the world, I think. Beauty says, I'm going to print 500 files if I need them or not. Beauty says, oh yeah, what happened to my Mystery Hero Quest competition? Still there, mate. It'll still get drawn as soon as I finish painting them all. But like I say, I'm really tight for space, for storage. So like I've got loads of stuff that just doesn't get played away in storage in my loft, basically, boxed up to kind of stop it from getting damaged and stuff. And because it's out of sight, it gets out of like out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. So yeah, once I get the studio stuff sorted, all of that stuff is coming back down because I'll have space for storage, and then it'll go back into rotation to get painted. But I put it away and I forgot about it, if I'm perfectly honest. Peter says, won't they make a Warcry warband out of the Cursed City models? Can paint those then. The problem is, mate, one, I'm not sure that they will make a Warcry Cursed City warband. Because they'll want to sell the box sets and stuff with the cards and things. And two, then I have to paint them like I'm painting these, like individual models, and I don't want to do that with half a box set. So we'll see. I mean, I'm not in any rush to get rid of it. I paid for it now. So Mark says, the only reason why I did not get too many 40k 8th edition games was the game store would have 40k on Friday nights. Me and my friends have always played RPGs. It was one of the reasons I've struggled with the Mantic stuff for the local, because the guys used to meet on a Thursday night, and on Thursday nights my wife was always away, so I used to struggle. Marcus says, I did play it in 10 tournaments. Wow, that's not bad going, mate. Phil says, is there a Red Dwarf game? No, I don't think there is, mate. I don't think there's ever been one. Anyway, folks, we're going to call it a night there. Thank you very much for your company this evening. Spiderlord and Tonio, thank you very much for your donations this evening. Hugely appreciated, and certainly help keep the coffers topped up so I can keep doing this full time. Christian just sharing the link there for the Patreon there. If anybody would like to check out the Patreon starts from $2 a month. It gets you access to our private Discord server, where a lot of the folks that are here in the chat tonight all kind of hang out and chat 24/7. So yeah, if you're looking for a nice friendly kind of group just to hang out and chat with, the Patreon is a really, really good place. There's obviously higher pledges as well, where you get t-shirts and you get your name at the end of the credits and stuff like that as well. But yeah, thank you very much. Jill saying, been a great stream. Thanks for the chat. You are welcome. Thank you very much. Phil, Tasty Brain Drain, Ghost Winter says, great stream as always. Have a good one. Thank you very much. Spiderlord says, no worries, been mean to get your pint for ages. I appreciate it, mate. And yeah, and everybody is saying good night. So take care, everyone. I'm not sure if I'll get a video up the rest of this week again, because I'm basically I'm spending about 12 hours a day trying to finish off the studio and get that done. I've got a carpet guys coming next week, I believe, so I need to crack on and get some stuff done before they arrive. But yeah, once I get to a point where I can kind of where I'm not embarrassed to show you what state it's in, I'll start showing off some pictures, and we'll do some little walk around videos and stuff, and I'll show you the progress, probably from the point where the room is ready to go, and then I'm starting to kind of install lights and cameras and all that kind of stuff, and putting the shelving up and putting the armies out and putting the terrain in there and things. That might be more interesting for you all. So yeah, thanks very much, folks, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching my video. I hope that you really enjoyed it. And if you did, why not consider clicking on the suggested video below to see more of the work that I've done. If you'd like to support the long-term sustainability of this channel, why not consider checking out my Patreon, where you can pledge and support from as little as $2 a month. And there is lots of different tiers and bonuses, which will give you access to a private Discord server. It will give you free t-shirts, free mugs, a podcast every month, and a number of other things, including getting your name at the end of every video, like these awesome folks who already support me now.